I told you guys to stay strong. Don't believe the FUD, because there was a ton of FUD out there. People were just throwing out news that made no sense whatsoever. Especially if you follow it, you know that there was some serious money. And I just tweeted this out now because I went for some other altcoins during this consolidation period because people call it a crash. The people that don't know jack call it a crash. The people that really follow it go, hey, this is the opportunity to jump in at Bitcoin a lot cheaper. And
we'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the home of Inter Miami CF.
His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnsideRadio.com, where the passion for La Rosa Negra runs deep. Download the Radio.net app and listen to Onside Radio in every Inter Miami CF game. OnsideRadio.com, your home for Inter Miami soccer.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Duncan to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
You're listening to this station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com, broadcasting from South Florida to the world. The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno.
It's all yours. Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yes! Oh, it is. It is! Man of the Match with Alex Donno. Oh, wait, I'm Alex Donno, and I'm with you guys here for the next 3 hours on OnsideRadio.com. Broadcasting live inside the beautiful Drive Pink Stadium. It's looking like a pretty nice day outside at the moment. I did drive through some rain getting up here. I attribute that to Kai Chen Chisholm, who's always wishing terrible weather on us because, he doesn't want to actually have to work at his other job. He's getting booed by Alex Aguirre. Alex Aguirre is in the building running the show. He makes everything go here on Man of the Match on Onside Radio. Taking you up until 6 o'clock tonight. 6 o'clock is when we hand it off nightly to our guy, Stephen D. from Miami Sports Music for the Fans. He always takes over at 6 p.m. Keep in mind, there's a number of different ways you can listen to and watch the show. You can listen to us the old-fashioned way, our website, OnsideRadio.com. Hit the Listen Live button. Also, while you're there on OnsideRadio.com, if you go to the right side of the homepage, there is a really excellent, gigantic list of mobile apps where you can download one of those free mobile apps. The one I've been using a lot lately is Radio FM. I've been using it for a long time. As soon as I open the app, it already knows Onside Radio is literally the only station on there that I listen to, and it fires it right up. The reason why the mobile apps are so great, not only can you listen to us easily on your headphones, on your smartphone, you're walking around, you're taking a jog, but you can listen to us very simply in your car, right? You have one of the free mobile apps fired up, Onside Radio, and if your car has Bluetooth connectivity, you connect your car to your phone, you connect Onside Radio through your speakers, and you listen to us wherever you go. That's my driving routine. I have a long commute to and from the Onside Radio studios here at Drive Pink Stadium, and I'm listening to Onside all the way there, all the way back. It has become ritualistic for me, and I hope you guys can say the same. And if you actually want to enhance the experience even further, it's not so easy to do if you're on the go, but if you're stationary somewhere, you're at home, you're at the office, you're the corporate time-stealing weasel, as Jim Mandich used to say, log into YouTube, my friends. Log into YouTube or log into Twitch, and you can actually stream video of the show live. And I wouldn't say, looking at my face is necessarily the main attraction. If you're into me, awesome. But if that's not the main attraction for you, I think what should be the main attraction of watching us on YouTube and Twitch is the live chat feature. I'm very active on the YouTube chat. You guys can chat with me. You guys can chat with each other. As long as you have a Google account, you can use the chat feature, which I think is excellent, and we can all have a conversation. And every single day since we have added the video capability over the last 2.5 months, every single day, at least one topic from the YouTube chat has turned into a topic on the show. And I'm very active on there answering messages, and I give you guys shout-outs as well. So if you're able to, log on to the video component of the show. Oh, we have a lot to get to today. So at 4:35, we're going to be joined by our guy, Clay Ferrero from WPLG. He's going to help me do a Miami Heat post-mortem. We're going to look ahead to what the offseason is going to look like. I do want to pick Clay's brain on the Miami Hurricanes and the Miami Dolphins as well. And then at 5:20, we're going to go a little bit deeper on the Dolphins and the Florida Panthers with Alan Pupar from SI. He covers the Miami Dolphins for Sports Illustrated, and he also does an awesome job covering the Florida Panthers for NHL.com. Speaking of the Panthers, I like this. Jameson Olive, our buddy from FloridaPanthers.com, was covering Bill Zito. The Florida Panthers GM had a press conference today, and Jameson tweets, Bill Zito on the mood of the exit interviews he had with players. He says, sincere emotional regret from our guys and real anticipation of next season already. It was pretty invigorating, actually, he said. These players should be fired up. Obviously, going out in the first round doesn't look great because all history is going to remember is another Florida Panthers first-round playoff exit. But the reality of the situation is you had a bad draw, right? Because in a normal, non-pandemic year, a team that had a good of a regular season as the Florida Panthers had would not draw the defending Stanley Cup champions in round one. It just worked out that way because of the divisional quirk and realignment this year because you were only playing regional opponents. So you had terrible luck in drawing the defending Stanley Cup champions, who I think might win it again, by the way. Let me ask you this. Whether you're a hardcore Panthers fan or just a casual hockey fan, if the Tampa Bay Lightning end up winning the chip again this year, does that make you feel better? Does it validate the Florida Panthers going out in the first round? Because I think it does. Now, I don't like the Tampa Bay Lightning. I do not like the arrogance of their fan base. I do not like the communist nature of their franchise, the way that if you buy an expensive ticket, they do not allow you in their arena to wear the opposing team's gear. And they even had that scene where they threatened to kick an 11-year-old child out of the game, a Panthers fan who was in their arena for game 6, and it was a whole scene. So I don't like the way they do their business. I don't like the way that they circumvented the salary cap, the in-state rivalry. I take it very seriously, right, as a Florida Panthers fan. The same way as an Inter-Miami fan, I don't like the Orlando City fans. As a Florida Panthers fan, I don't like the Tampa Bay Lightning fans. I take that rivalry very seriously, and they are salary cap cheats. Having said that, though, I think this Tampa Bay Lightning team is the best in the National Hockey League. And if they go on to win another Stanley Cup, doesn't that soften the blow a little bit? I mean, as a Panthers fan, don't you look back and say, hey, we were somewhat competitive in that series. We had a really tough draw, and then the team that knocked us out of the first round ended up knocking out 3 subsequent teams to the playoffs en route to a Stanley Cup. I think that's got to make you feel better. Maybe some of you are so bitter that you want to see Tampa Bay just crumble and burn, and, you'd love to see them somehow get embarrassed, in the playoffs. But for me, honestly, as someone who believes in this Florida Panthers team, I believe what Bill Zito is building. I believe in the job that Coach Q is doing over in Sunrise. If the Tampa Bay Lightning, who knocked us out of the postseason, go on to win the championship, I think that makes it more palatable to me. Do you guys agree or disagree? Remember, you can always text the show at 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. And back on Jameson Olive's tweet about what Bill Zito said, sincere emotional regret from our guys and real anticipation of next season already. It was pretty invigorating, actually. We're on the ground floor of this project. So Panthers fans don't need to look at what happened last week and getting eliminated from the playoffs. Don't look at that as the end of something. Look at that as the beginning of something. I firmly believe that. And I know not everyone is going to heed my advice on that, to look at this as chapter 1, not the final chapter, because some people will say, hey, you hockey bros, you were selling me a bad bill of goods like 10 years. Everyone kept saying, Dale Talon, this guy's a proven winner. Dale Talon is going to build a championship team. Look what he did in Chicago. It turned out Talon was a fraud, okay? And it turned out Talon wasted a lot of our time. Bill Zito, to me, has already done so much quality work in improving the toughness, the defense, and the goal scoring of this roster. And for those of you frustrated about the $10 million headache, Sergei Bobrovsky, that's certainly not Bill Zito's fault. I mean, Bill Zito's not the guy who gave him that contract. And again, I'll say it what I said the other day. I don't even blame the Florida Panthers for giving Bob that contract, because somebody else would have. And I really thought he was the real deal coming out of Columbus. So that I blame Bob for that, not the Panthers on that. But you certainly can't blame Bill Zito for that. This Panthers team, to me, this is just the tip of the iceberg, what we're seeing. They're going to continue to get better. And if they can have as good of a regular season next year as they had this year, they're not going to be matched up with a team as good as the Lightning in the first round. They're going to be able to get a playoff series victory or two under their belts and build that experience. And I think the sky is the limit from here. So, yeah, I think every Florida Panthers player, every member of the coaching staff, every front office member, every broadcaster, every radio host, anyone who backs that team should have their heads held high right now, because I think that this year, bitter defeat, but it's only the first of many chapters to come. How about LeBron James last night? Now, deliberately, this is the first NBA story I'm giving you today, because there's another NBA story over in the East Coast that's stealing a lot of headlines. I think LeBron James may have called in a favor. I think LeBron may have called Adam Silver and said, hey, can you make sure something else big happens today so the people aren't talking about me walking off the court? He did this last season, too, with the Lakers during the playoffs. And that was with a minute left in a game. LeBron quit and walked off the court. I still remember the first time LeBron was a Cavalier, 2009, his Cavaliers got eliminated by the Orlando Magic, and he walked off the court in disgrace, refused to shake anyone's hand. He's a sore loser, and he's a petulant child. Now, in certain aspects, LeBron seems like he's a pretty good person. I'll give him that. Does a lot of charitable work, does a lot for children. He does, a lot to stand up for social justice. I respect the fact that LeBron attempts to use his platform for good. But when it comes to the competitive sporting aspect of it, the guy is a gigantic baby. Like, he is a gigantic baby. Like, the rules don't apply to him. Don't you think if any of LeBron's teammates, when they were down at the point when he walked off the court, the exact moment when LeBron walked off the court, the Lakers were getting their asses kicked. And that term that I use, getting their asses kicked, LeBron used the same term in the postgame, and he's correct. They were down 105-73 at that moment. 5 minutes and 41 seconds left in the game. 5 minutes and 41 seconds. It's not like you were down to the final shot clock. Like, it's not like you were just down to a routine final play. Listen, I know that being down 32 points, that's a big hill to climb, but you have basically half of the fourth quarter left. And LeBron just says, peace, I'm out. And he walks away through the tunnel into the locker room. And he just completely quit on his team again. 5 minutes, 41 seconds to go. And in case you were wondering, I think LeBron, he scored 24 points in the game, but his plus-minus was minus 24. That was the worst on the Lakers. So LeBron James, once again, when the going gets tough, LeBron James gets going right into the locker room. Le quit. He does it again. Walked out on his Lakers last year, walked out on Pat Riley 7 years ago, walked out on his Cavaliers 12 years ago, and now he's walking out on his Lakers again. The Lakers aren't getting through this series. It's finito. The Phoenix Suns. And how about this? Why aren't the Lakers bubble frauds? Why aren't the Boston Celtics bubble frauds? How come the only team that goes out in the first round that gets called bubble frauds are the Miami Heat? Like, I take exception to that term. I was a guest on a Central Florida radio show today. My friend Mark Moses, who hosts in Central Florida, he had me on a show, and he asked me about that, if I think the Heat are bubble frauds. And I said, listen, like, they're not as good as they were last year. They got swept by Milwaukee, who got considerably better than they were last year. And so, yeah, listen, the Heat need to look in the mirror. I'm not going to make excuses for them. They should have been more competitive in this Bucks series. I don't think they had the firepower to win it, but they should have been more competitive than they were. But how can I call them bubble frauds when every team that was in the Orlando bubble last year had the exact same conditions? The exact same conditions. So wait, so you're telling me that for some reason that nobody can explain, the Miami Heat players last year were more psychologically strong and prepared to be isolated for 2 months, and none of the other players could handle it? Like, what kind of sense does that make? If anything, that should be a compliment. Like, if anything, that should be, wow. So you're telling me if you take these players away from their homes and their families and you put them in quarantine for 2 months, and there's only one team that has players who are psychologically equipped to deal with that and thrive in that environment, I should take that as a compliment, not an insult. I mean, God, for anyone who wonders what Heat culture means, because now everyone is calling that into question. Oh, Heat culture is a myth. So if you're wondering what Heat culture means, at the same time, if you're one of these people who buys into the bubble fraud idea and you somehow think it was a competitive advantage for the Heat to be in the same isolation that every team was in, you think that gave them some sort of an advantage, but then you also don't believe in Heat culture, it's got to be one or the other, man. Like, you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth. If you think the Heat had some psychological advantage in the bubble, then it sounds to me like you believe in Heat culture, right? Because maybe that's what that comes down to at the end of the day. 844-416-8123. On the Lakers, everyone's jumping ship. You see what Snoop Dogg tweeted? Snoop Dogg, who's a huge Laker fan, said, I think he Instagrammed this, technically. He didn't tweet it. Never thought I'd say it, but we sorry. And the Clippers better than us. Frank Vogel can't coach. And why the F Montrezl Harrell ain't getting no run. Bleep this. This is heartbreaking, he said. Anthony Davis hurt more than Mary J. Blige records. We soft, Snoop Dogg wrote. We soft. They are soft. Can anyone get Jack Nicholson to weigh in on this? Does he tweet? Is Jack Nicholson on Instagram? I'd love to know his thoughts on this. What other celebrity Laker fans are there? Who am I forgetting? Jack is like the Godfather. Snoop Dogg is a big Laker fan. Leonardo DiCaprio, does he root for the Lakers? I would love to know what he thinks about this epic collapse. Armando in Miami, Lakers Canes 305. He's a big Los Angeles Lakers fan. If he's listening, I want Mondo to weigh in. I know Mondo's not going to hide from this. Mondo knows his Lakers let him down yesterday. Oh, man. RC in the 305 says, Donno, let's talk Canes football barbecue. Dude, yeah. I'm so happy they were able to have that yesterday. They had a 15-month dead period. It's why anytime people are freaking out, oh, Miami didn't have any commits. Why is the class of 2022 looking so slow? Nobody's committing. They haven't, and this is not just Miami, obviously. Programs around the country have not been able to see any players in person from like April of last year through May of this year. They just reopened it June 1st. They ended the dead period in college football. So the floodgates have opened. And a lot of the discerning players out there, knowing that the dead period was going to end June 1st, were saying, why would I make my commitment in April or May when I haven't even had a chance to visit these schools yet in June? Like, I want to go through the process before I commit and announce. And it's June 2nd. It opened up yesterday. They had the barbecue. The floodgates are open, man. So I think this is going to be good. We're going to get a much better idea over the next month or so where Miami sits from a recruiting standpoint. I wish I'd gone to that barbecue. Looked like they were grilling some good stuff, man. 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. We continue here on Onside Radio. So I do want to talk about the other big story in the NBA, and that's Danny Ainge stepping away. And the Celtics, the way that they're handling this, it doesn't make any sense, but I do believe it's a preview of the near future, not the immediate future, but the near future for the Miami Heat. And I will explain when we come back. You're listening to the only locally owned sports station in South Florida. We are OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Listen to OnSideRadio.com anywhere by downloading the MyTuner Radio app in your app store. Or go to MyTunerRadio.com on your web browser. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida sports leader.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodieOusDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody House family. Dr. Moody House is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyHouseDental.com.
At OnSideRadio.com, we chirp all day and night. It's time to do some more chirping with David Dwork at our Chirping the Cats report.
It was a fun season, but as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. The Panthers put up a good fight in forcing a Game 6, but that was as far as they would get, as the defending champion Tampa Bay Lightning knocked out the Cats with Wednesday's 4-0 win. Rookie goaltender Spencer Knight did what he could to keep Florida in the game, stopping 20 shots, including several point-blank opportunities during the first two periods, but it was Tampa goalie Andrei Vasilevsky that stole the show. The likely Vezina Trophy finalist was a brick wall, stopping everything the Panthers threw his way and frustrating the Cats at every turn. Now Tampa will move on to face the winner of the Carolina-Nashville series, while Florida will head back to Sunrise, clean out their lockers, and head into the offseason wondering what could have been.
Keep up with the latest on the Florida Panthers by subscribing on most platforms by searching Onside Radio, your home for South Florida sports.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station.
With Make-A-Wish, the impossible becomes possible. A girl battling cancer can become a race car driver battling the course. The boy showing all the nurses his fire trucks can take the helm of a real one. Wishes can give kids with critical illnesses the strength to keep fighting, get better, and grow up.
Where there's a wish, there's a way.
Wishes need you. Visit Make-A-Wish at wish.org.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Man, Heat culture. Got people going in the YouTube chat. Troy Ortiz says, stop, Donno. Now you're making excuses for a mediocre Heat team this year. And yes, the bubble was a fluke. Stop being a contrarian. Let me clarify. I wasn't making excuses for this year's Heat team. If anything, I was making excuses for last year's Heat team. They overachieved last year, but I don't think that was a fluke. I think that was the product of excellent coaching. I think that was the product of Tyler Hero as a rookie actually being focused on basketball, whereas Tyler Hero as a second-year player was drinking his own Kool-Aid, and he was more focused on Instagram models and cereal endorsements and rap videos and Chipotle bowls he's endorsing. It's like Rocky and Rocky 3. He lost the eye of the tiger, first half of that movie. I hope next year can be like the second half of Rocky 3 for him when he started training with Apollo Creed and he regained his focus. But no, I mean, you're right. This Heat team is mediocre this year. I will make no excuses for that. I mean, I'm the same guy who yesterday and the day before said that Pat Riley needs to blow it up and make dramatic changes, sweeping changes. So, no, I agree with you 1,000%. So we got the news this morning Danny Ainge retires. Who would have thought that a 62-year-old Danny Ainge would retire before a 76-year-old Pat Riley? This is a big W for Pat. Pat despises Ainge. I despise Ainge. This is the same guy who pretends that not a single racist lives in the city of Boston. He's delusional. And Ainge always bragging about his assets, always bragging about the trades he could have made, but not the actual deals that he made. Like, oh my God, I'm so glad that that Celtics tenure of his, and it's not to say he never won anything there, but incredibly overrated, and I'm glad that this is unceremoniously ending for him. The part that I don't get is, so Danny Ainge retires. Well, and they say retires. He's going to be sought after, I think, by other teams. So we'll see. We'll see if the retirement actually sticks. But we know his Celtic tenure is coming to an end. And, okay, what exactly has Brad Stevens done to deserve a promotion? So Ainge is walking away. Stevens, who has been an unsuccessful head coach in Boston, what does an unsuccessful run get you? It gets you a promotion, apparently. So they can't actually win with Brad Stevens on the bench. So what do? They give Brad Stevens a cushier position overseeing all of basketball operations. I'm sure this is going to end very well for them. And they're running now a coaching search. Play for me, Alex, Stephen A. Smith. Now, Stephen A. Smith is claiming that the reason why Stevens gets promoted despite not doing his job very well is white privilege. And honestly, guys, I don't know for sure if it's white privilege or just idiocy by the Celtics ownership, but maybe I can't argue because, yeah, you're probably right. A black man doesn't get this opportunity if you struggle as a head coach to then get promoted into a front office role. Here's Stephen A. Smith losing his mind today.
Players, NBA players are some of the most powerful people in this world. When have they spoken up for black coaches? When? When have they spoken up for black executives, GMs, president of basketball operations? When has that happened? LeBron, all of them, everybody. Where the hell have they been? Nobody's done anything. And then when we the media, we bring it up, and you got white folks out here gonna sit up there and look at Stephen A. and say, oh, here he is bringing up race. And none of the black players speak up and say, yo, he got a point. Yo, he's right. Yo, there's something that needs to be done here. Do y'all want me to bring up the Rooney Rule and how it might be needed in basketball? Oh, I forgot. I can't do that. Why? Because the Rooney Rule ain't even working in the damn NFL.
Wow.
So when are we gonna say something about it? You know what? I'm going to walk away. I'll be right back because I'm scared I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble because I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
Yeah, Burke, you want to respond?
Walked off the set. I mean, Jesus. Listen, man, I don't know if it's just poor decision-making or, like he said, white privilege, but I can tell you it's a nonsensical move. It is a nonsensical move. It's like if my bosses decide I'm doing a terrible job on the radio, do you think they give me more hours and more money? Like, no, that's not the way the real world works, right? I mean, if the Celtics were smart, they're moving on from the Danny Ainge chapter. This would be a great time to blow everything up and start over again. Brad Stevens is part of the problem there. Like, half measures are not going to fix anything. So Ainge is gone. So instead of promoting a guy who's probably even worse at his job than Danny Ainge was and giving him more power, I think this would be a great opportunity to say, you know what, Ainge is out. We're going to bring in a new head of basketball operations. We're going to let him select a new head coach, and we're going to build all over again with a completely new vision. That's the opposite of what they're doing, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. So, all right, we continue on. I've got to step away from the live microphone for a few minutes to do an important meeting, and we're going to hear a conversation that I had with Kyle Krabs, and I'm going to be back very shortly. And at 4:35 p.m., my friends, back live on the mic, I will be talking with Clay Ferrero from WPLG. And at 5:20, we'll be talking some Miami Dolphins and some Florida Panthers with my good friend Alan Pupar from Sports Illustrated and NHL.com. We got Alex Aguirre running the Wheels of Steel. Keep it locked right here. Your home for Inter Miami CF fans all over the world. We are OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. Listen to every Inter-Miami CF match on your home for La Rosa Negra, OnsideRadio.com. Catch us every day on the MyTuner Radio app. Get the brutal honesty every day with the Onside Zone with a Big O from 12 noon to 3 p.m. every weekday on your home for sports talk in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com.
Join the Inter-Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
Keeping you informed in the world of sports. With an OnsideRadio.com sports update.
Danny Ainge has stepped down as president of basketball operations. Brad Stevens, the former head coach, is now moving to the front office on a full-time role, and a search for a new head coach is expected to start. This was reported by Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN. The Miami Marlins lost 5-1 last night to the Toronto Blue Jays. The teams are back at it tonight at 7:07 with Pablo Lopez on the mound for your fish. The Brooklyn Nets finished off the Boston Celtics in 5 games with a 123-109 victory last night. The Denver Nuggets took a 3-2 series lead after a 147-140 win over the Portland Trail Blazers. Damian Lillard went for 55 in the loss. Phoenix Suns are 1 game away from sending the defending champions LA Lakers home in the first round after a 115-85 blowout Game 5. You're listening to the only locally owned South Florida sports talk station, OnsideRadio.com, and coming up, it's an Onside Radio replay with the man of the match interviewing Kyle Krabs. So plenty of Dolphins talk coming your way. Stay tuned.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common, preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., listen to Red Card Radio with Austin Robillard, brought to you by Stout Bar and Grill in Oakland Park. With over 40 TVs, Stout is the home for soccer around the world. Stout Bar features Clonakilty whiskeys, the world's best Irish whiskey.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
You're listening to this station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
This Onside Rewind is brought to you by Stout Bar and Grill in Oakland Park. With over 40 TVs, Stout is home for soccer around the world and a great place to watch Inter-Miami CF. Clonakilty Whiskeys, the world's best Irish whiskey.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
love the NFL, and I love the fact that we can talk NFL all year long because there's always something going on. For the Miami Dolphins this week, it was OTAs, media availability, and I really enjoyed what Tua Tagovailoa had to say yesterday. I would imagine our next guest enjoyed it as well. He's Kyle Krabs. He's the director of scouting for the Draft Network, lead editor of DolphinsWire.com, and he's also the host of the Locked On Dolphins and Draft Dudes podcast. Good afternoon, Kyle. How you been, sir?
Alex, hope things are going well for you, man. It's good to catch up. We took the week off last week, but I'm glad to be back on with you, especially after yesterday's presser.
Oh, definitely, man, and I hope everything's well with you. So, after that presser yesterday, I mean, first things first, there's plenty of directions we can go in with Tua because I really appreciate how self-aware, honest, and candid he is. But he said something, Kyle, that I thought was something a lot of Dolphin fans noticed last year when they watched what was going on when Fitz was on the field versus when Tua was on the field. This was never outright confirmed by anyone in the organization last year. But, Tua was not operating with the full playbook last year. Why do you think that was? Why wasn't he ready to retain more of that?
Well, it's hard to say what the reasoning was why he didn't feel as though he had the grasp on the playbook that was necessary for him to have the full plate or menu at his disposal. But yeah, Alex, like you said, it's pretty apparent when you watched him play last year, and there were all the conspiracies of, Chan just likes Fitz better, so he calls better plays for Fitz, and it's like, well, you got to give a guy stuff that he understands conceptually. Yeah. Because if you give him the plays that he doesn't understand completely, or hasn't shown that mastery of, that's when you run the risk of somebody going out there and his eyes go the wrong way, and he's hot, and he doesn't realize it, and he gets ear-holed off the blind side, and he gets hurt, or he throws a hospital ball to somebody because the route's capped, and he doesn't recognize it, and he throws it, and he gets somebody's head taken off. So it's just, rookie stepping into a new offense. And I guess the bigger conversation piece here is why the Dolphins made the decision that they did at the time in which they did, if this was how Tua and his standing with the playbook stood. But, I know everybody loved to just dump it all at Chan Gailey's feet, but I think it sounds like the Dolphins did what they did by trying to give him the things that he knew how to operate the best and give him the best opportunity when he was out there to run the plays that they felt confident he would work well with. And I think it was very important of him to acknowledge, I didn't fully grasp the playbook, and that's on nobody else except for me.
Yeah. And, of course, Chan Gailey is no longer the offensive coordinator. We now have two OCs, co-OCs, but they were both, working under Gailey last year. So that kind of makes it a little bit unclear to me now I'm sure the game planning process is going to change quite a bit, but how much do you think the actual playbook is going to change, considering you have, you've elevated people who did work under the previous offensive coordinator?
Well, I think the important thing to remember is both of these guys have a breadth of experience on offensive football, and George Godsey was the play caller for the Houston Texans for 19 games back in the early era of the Bill O'Brien year when Brian Hoyer and Brock Osweiler were his quarterbacks. So he has his own experiences. Eric Studesville has his own experiences. And I think that the important takeaway is that, yes, they both were on staff last year under Chan Gailey, but more importantly, they both worked with this group last year and understand what the strengths and weaknesses are of the players. So as you're trying to construct a playbook, and Eric Studesville referred to it as a living document that's always evolving, you get a little bit more of an understanding of what this group can do well, and specifically tailoring it to Tua Tagovailoa, which George Godsey took over working with Tua at a very close relationship starting in, I think, the Arizona game when the coaches all had the COVID situation and a bunch of guys missed time. So I think it's less about they worked under Chan, and it's more so they worked with this group and collaboratively speaking, because that's like the magic word amongst all the coaches that had press conferences this week, they talk about collaboration and everybody moving in the same direction and working together collaboratively. This was probably the duo of guys that Brian Flores felt the best about, working to build the best composite and hybrid playbook.
Joined here by Kyle Krabs, covers the Miami Dolphins. He does a great job on DolphinsWire.com, Locked On Dolphins podcast, also the lead scout at the Draft Network. Anything else really stand out to you from Tua Tagovailoa yesterday, what he had to say?
I appreciated hearing him vocalize a little bit about the difference that he feels and sees with his throwing mechanics, and he obviously talked about his strength and conditioning program being total body, but he says he feels as though his throwing motion now and sequencing in his delivery feels more like the golf swing as compared to all arm. He says it's less arm this year. I really feel like I'm starting from the ground up, and that's how you're supposed to do it. And you know, he said a couple of times he wasn't really thinking about his hip, but there is kind of that subconscious block that, you know, if he felt like he was throwing all arm at times last year or disproportionately with just his arm and not his body, then some of the hope that's out there that, hey, you know, is he capped out physically with how strong his arm is? If he can get his sequencing right and really throw from the ground up with his cleats in the ground, then he's going to have a really good chance to generate a little bit more velocity on the ball.
Moving away from the Dolphins here for a second, a lot of speculation about Julio Jones, who, you know, Shannon Sharp really lit that fire this week when he called him up, and it looked completely unplanned. I don't know if it was, you know, some elaborate TV bit, but it looked like he, you know, potentially illegally called him out of the blue and broadcast the conversation on live TV. But, you know, it's no secret Julio Jones is getting out of Atlanta, and, you know, his wish list sounds like New England and Tennessee. If he were to wind up with the Patriots, Kyle, like how worried should Dolphins fans be about what he would bring to the table at this point? You know, catching passes from either Cam Newton or some combination of Cam Newton and Mac Jones.
Yeah, I certainly think the Patriots warrant your respect, regardless, given the fact that they were close to 500 last year. With losing Tom Brady and trying to find a way to piece that together. And then you look at the pieces that they've brought into the fray. But they're a team that, much like the Dolphins, I think their season is going to be defined by their quarterback play. You know, Julio Jones will obviously help a lot, but the Dolphins are one of those teams that have the depth in the secondary to kind of, okay, you know, instead of just considering yourself clamps across the board because you got Xavier Howard covering Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, if that's the top guy, you still like your chances with Xavier Howard matching up against Julio Jones. Julio Jones would have his wins in one-on-one. But the depth that the Dolphins have behind that, I think they could still match up fairly well in the receivers versus corners conversation. But the Patriots team as a whole, you can really tell they're loading up to be really run-heavy, play-action pass, the multiple tight end stuff, because they brought in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. And Julio can be really lethal in that with the play-action type stuff if you don't have guys that can lock up with him and at least run with him and stay physical at the catch point and make him earn it at the catch point. But do you trust Cam Newton to be a better version of himself than what he was last year when he struggled with injuries for like each of the last 3 seasons in certain stretches? Or do you think Mac Jones, and we saw what the translation looks like from an Alabama offense under Steve Sarkisian to the NFL, like that's not an easy jump. And do you think Mac Jones, who in my opinion has lesser tools than Tua Tagovailoa, is going to be able to make that jump seamlessly when we saw how challenging it was for Tua? I don't know. So that's the big mystery with the Pats.
Going back to the Dolphins, you know, a couple of the players the Dolphins drafted, 2 out of their first 3 draft picks, could potentially be options as return men. Thinking about Jalen Waddle, who's pretty electric at that in college, and Javon Holland is capable of that as well. How much, if at all, do you see either of them returning kicks or punts this coming year?
I really wouldn't be surprised. I'd never say never. And I know Jakeem Grant collected second-team All-Pro honors for that this past year, and that's been his best contribution to the team. But you look at the wide receiver room specifically, and that's what makes me think we may see some changes here because Holland has experience doing it, as does Waddle. And Grant, from a passing game perspective, he's had a couple years worth of opportunities here to try and elevate his play, and it really hasn't happened. So are you going to keep him on the roster to be a return guy and pay him a healthy amount of money and have a healthy salary cap hit to just do the return stuff? And if they felt highly of Jakeem Grant as a receiver, they wouldn't forget about Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle. Would they have brought in Robert Foster, who's kind of a straight line speed guy too? I just think the transactions that they've made kind of spells this writing on the wall that, as the team makes some financial decisions and has to pare down the roster, whether they look to maybe trade him and get a late round pick for him or do a player swap, or they make a decision financially just based off financials and the limitations that Grant has as a player in the offense, it's a really hard sell to justify him at, I think his cap hits somewhere around $4.5 million to keep him on the roster to effectively just return kicks when you had this massive influx in receivers.
I'm with you on that. That's a great point. Kyle Krabs joins us here on Onside Radio. Kyle, it looks like Aaron Rodgers is having a good time on vacation. He dropped some nuggets on SportsCenter on Kenny Mayne's farewell earlier this week, basically essentially saying he loves everybody with the Packers, but kind of hinting that Gutekunst, the GM, may be the real problem there. But at the same time, I've seen some of the videos. This guy is, he's doing karaoke. He's listening to Taylor Swift. He's having fun with Shailene Woodley, and he's out there with Miles Teller and his wife. Is there, is it becoming maybe more likely with this standoff with Green Bay, who reiterate they're not trading him, that he might just end up actually retiring early?
I think that's probably his best option to flex his way out, if you will. If he's dead set on not playing for the Packers, then that very well may be his best avenue to get there, just because the Packers, they're really not motivated to make a move. And I understandably so. They've gone to the NFC Championship game each of the last 2 years. Now, you can look at the moves that they have made since and ask the question if they have done the right things around Aaron to give them the chance to get over the top, or if they are kind of playing out of both sides where you are trying to win now, but you look at some of the moves that they've made, and most notably the Jordan Love selection, and you got a really young head coach and you got a really young general manager for one of the most stable franchises in all of football. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, we're trying to win now, but we're also going to set ourselves up so that whenever Aaron calls it a day, or whenever we move on from Aaron, we're going to be okay. And so I understand the messaging there and how Rodgers can get frustrated by that, because it's like, guys, we should all be trying to win right now. Never mind worrying about what's 4 years down the road.
Yeah, good stuff here as always. Kyle Krabs, you want to follow Kyle on Twitter at Grinding the Tape. Check out his work at DolphinsWire.com, the Draft Network, and also the great podcast he does, the Draft Dudes podcast and Locked on Dolphins, which I think is really a must-listen for any Miami Dolphin fan. Kyle, thank you so much for dropping some insight with us. Enjoy your weekend coming up.
Thank you. You too, Donno. Good catching up with you.
Every Thursday, NBA fans can catch one of the best basketball shows in the country when Ethan Skolnick and Ira Winderman host Inside the Paint. Listen to two of the most knowledgeable and connected reporters in the business. Get year-round insight every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. with Inside the Paint on the home for hardcore basketball fans. OnSideRadio.com.
Hey, it's Toast, and no doubt last year hurricane season was one of the craziest we've ever seen. Well, Noah's saying once again, going to be another active season, so you need to call B&T Windows and Doors today and get PGT custom windows and doors installed like I did so that you are fully protected. Listen, there's no better peace of mind than PGT custom windows and doors when you're in the cone of death for a Category 5 storm. Call B&T Windows and Doors today to get set up. 954-233-0126. That's 954-233-0126.
This Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., Red Card Radio with Austin Robillard will be broadcasting live from Stout Bar and Grill in Oakland Park. With over 40 TVs, Stout is the home for soccer around the world. Stout features Clonakilty Whiskies, the world's best Irish whiskey. So come on out this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for Red Card Radio live from Stout Bar and Grill in Fort Lauderdale.
You're listening to this station with more live and local local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
When you're looking to add that extra style and protection for your home or business, visit A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie or Sunrise, where plantation shutters are a major part of our business, and they look great in any home. We have them in white, stained colors, and wood tones. We can even motorize your shutters like the one in the OnSideRadio.com studio. A Shade Above Window Fashions, 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Window Fashions.
You're listening to the only sports station in South Florida that likes to take your calls. 888-441-4623. We connect with a South Florida sports fan because we are South Florida. Locally owned and operated. 888-441-4623. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. This Onside Rewind is brought to you by Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard. Follow them on Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
I know the season's over. Mercifully, it's over. But a big offseason coming up for our Miami Heat. We love to bring in our friend Alex Toledo. Does an awesome job on 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And, man, we got so much to get into. Alex, how you been, sir? How's life treating you?
Could be better. You know, I just came back from metaphorical Cancun. Just had to take a break from watching He went out.
Oh, I lost you for a second. You still there?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you were just telling me about Cancun, and it sounded lovely. And then I thought maybe like someone hacked your phone line or something because I lost you for a second. But did you get a nice tan down there?
The signal from Cancun, and by the way, I'm talking wholly metaphorically. I didn't literally go to Cancun, but yeah, I had to go to Cancun in the sense of not watching basketball for a couple of days because of the way that the Heat went out.
I took that so literally. I took that so literally. You pulled the Ted Cruz going down there. We're talking with Alex Toledo from 5 on the Floor. Now, this may be a weird place to start, but I was just talking about this guy in the previous segment. So let me ask you, do you think Udonis Haslem is back on the roster next year? Because personally, I'm actually fine with it. I argue with some of my listeners about this. I think UD has enough clout. He can be taking up the 15th roster spot until he's 60 as far as I'm concerned. Is he back next year?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I think so, and I'm with you. I bring him back as long as he wants to be here, as long as he wants to keep working out and being in shape, because this whole argument that, you know, they could have another young guy there, sure, but that young guy is what, another Gabe Vincent, another Max Strus? Like, what are we talking about here? I'm good, man. This team needs some guts, and Haslam wasn't able to will them with their guts, and he seemed like he was the only one angry in Game 4. Me and him. It was just me and him. Game 4 was the only ones who are angry. But, like, yeah, if he wants to come back, and it seems like he does, bring him back. But also, if he just wants to retire out of disgust, I'm good with that, too. I support whatever decision he makes.
Hey, I saw a quote the other day. Like, didn't he say something about how they haven't offered him an ownership stake? I hope that they would, because, you know, seeing Dwayne Wade buy into the Utah Jazz, that's fine. But I would love UD to buy into the Heat.
Oh yeah, of course I'm all about that. You know, I think every Heat fan's dream was D Wade and UD taking a percentage out together and going from there into the sunset, but that's not going to happen. So I hope we can at least get one half of that, and UD can become a minority owner. I mean, it's only right. It's only right. Like I said, you know, there's no hate towards Dwayne for doing what he did, but it would suck if UD ended up taking a stake in another team after Dwayne doing it, right? Like I think UD, like his whole brand is Miami, Miami, Miami. I think he has. I would love for that to happen. But yeah, yesterday in the the end of season pressers, he was asked if watching Caron Butler, his former teammate, being on the coaching staff on the sidelines made him reconsider, because he's always said that he's not really interested in coaching. And he reiterated that, he's not interested in coaching, and instead asked the reporter back, why didn't you ask about my owner friend? So I think he's just very obviously hinting that he's way more interested in ownership than any type of coaching.
Alex Toledo from 5 on the Floor joins us here on Onside Radio. So there's going to be a question on what happens with Duncan Robinson this summer as a restricted free agent. Now, my opinion on him has evolved, Alex, and I vaguely remember a conversation I had with you on this show about a month ago where I wasn't, hugely on board with the idea of bringing him back at potentially $20 million a season. Maybe they can get a discount from that. We'll see. I wasn't really on board with it a month ago. I think now I'm more at peace with the idea that he's harder to me to replace than, say, a Kendrick Nunn. And, for a shooter such as him, $20 million per season up to that kind of is the going rate in today's NBA. And I am now much more on board with keeping Duncan than I was about a month ago. What do you think happens there? Do you think he's going to end up sticking with Heat? And what do you think the price could be?
I mean, I would be shocked, like really shocked, if he ended up on another team, unless there was some sort of scenario where the Heat are looking at like a whale, and I think like the only one who would come to mind is if like the Kawhi thing ever became any type of real at all. Like if they were to go out in the first round and there was real smoke that Kawhi is available and thinking about leaving, I think like it would have to be some sort of crazy scenario like that where they kind of have him waiting, right? But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be one of their priorities this summer. Like, if they really had any concern about paying him, I think it would have been wise to trade him during the season. And when that opportunity did arise, it didn't really happen. So I think he's going to be back on the team. I honestly would also be a little bit surprised if it's 20 mil or more, because it feels like guys like Joe Harris, Bogdanovich got paid a little bit less than that, and it feels like they're a little bit more skilled than Duncan, particularly Bogdanovich, who can handle the ball a little bit. Joe Harris, has some counters. He can play a little bit of defense. And Duncan is starting to fill out that way, right? Like we saw some growth from him. So I'm all in on him. I'm bringing him back. He's a guy that you want on a team that is planning on contending. And I know it's hard to say that after they just got eliminated in 4 in the first round. But I do believe they still think of themselves as contenders, and that's what's going on in the locker room. And I don't think you give up on a guy like Duncan, especially when your 2 best players are not exactly shooters, and you need Duncan to manufacture that gravity. Also, having said that, I think because you can bring him back and it doesn't affect your cap space, it doesn't affect you being able to go after other guys, that makes it even easier to bring him back on just a good price, I think.
Yeah, that's well said.
I think they'll work with him, but, if you bring in another guy, another guard who takes pressure from Jimmy and Bam to have to do everything, I think that makes Duncan even better, just because there's more ways for him to get good looks. And so, I think regardless of what happens to this team, I think they need him.
Yeah, and you mentioned the names Jimmy and Bam as well. They're obviously untouchable. They're not getting traded. They're not going anywhere. Do you think, though, now that I start to see some talk about, Jimmy, who's got 2 more years left on his deal, about extending him further for a big money extension for 2 additional years, which would lock him up until he's no less than 36 years old. Is that smart business? Because I'm a little bit weary of that, but I'll say one thing. If that's kind of the tax for Jimmy to, and I'm thinking way outside the box here, because I remember what Stephen A. Smith said last week. If he really knows anything, if Jimmy can work some kind of magic to bring Kawhi Leonard down here, then if that's kind of the tax you have to pay to get Jimmy in full recruiting mode, I would understand it. But do you think it's smart business to give Jimmy an extension till he's 36?
Now, I'm definitely not qualified to talk about what's good or bad business as a journalism major and as just, a clueless young person. But really, I think if I had to come up with an answer, that's the cost of winning. That's the cost of a contender is paying your franchise players what they want. And honestly, man, it's what you're talking about, right? It's the other stuff that Jimmy brings off the court and just being able to recruit other guys. I think it's obvious that the Heat have locked themselves into this win now mode, and that's what happens, right? When you get into that mode, and we know they're going to be looking to add talent to make themselves better throughout the summer, especially after what happened. But when you're in that mode, I just think that's what you got to do. If Jimmy is pushing for that negotiation for the extension, and so is his agent, I think you got to do it. I don't think you want to start anything there. And as bad and as disappointing as Jimmy was in this first round, I know how gassed he was from putting the team on his back. I was all over him on 5 on the floor, but I'm trying to balance that line of being fair here. So I'm gonna give him some,
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the home of Inter Miami CF.
His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnsideRadio.com, where the passion for La Rosa Negra runs deep.
Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than the roof above the people you love. At Onside Radio, we recommend Chase Roofing and Contracting. At chaseroofing.com, they care about the customer. Chase Roofing provides reliable roof installation and repair without the destruction to our environment. Chase Roofing is powered by Tamara, who is owner and operated for 18 years. Chaseroofing.com is Google top rated and a AAA standing with the Better Business Bureau. Open 24/7. Call them today. Trust chaseroofing.com to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com, broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno.
It's all yours. Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, 4 o'clock. Back in the saddle here, OnsideRadio.com. I just had to step out for about 30 minutes for a marketing meeting, so you guys caught up with my most recent conversation with Kyle Krabs, who is going to join us again tomorrow, by the way. Kyle's going to do his Thursday spot with us tomorrow. You heard from Alex Toledo as well. Coming up live at 4:35 p.m., we will talk with Clay Ferrero from WPLG. We'll talk some Miami Heat and maybe a little Canes with Clay. He's a big college football fan, Mr. Ferrero. At 5:20, we're going to talk Dolphins and Florida Panthers with Alan Poupar from Sports Illustrated. He covers the Dolphins for Sports Illustrated, and he is the NHL.com Florida correspondent for the Florida Panthers. We have a lot coming up. I'm also going to give you a little bit later on in the show my Wednesday Wisdom segment. A couple of physicists are trying to debunk the idea that we've been visited by aliens. And I'm here to tell you, I know more than these physicists, okay? I will explain to you why their arguments are wrong and why they are biased. Couple of great folks are in the chat. We got Rafa in Miami in. We got Lucha Lalo, Herman Cueva. David is with us. Tremolio. By the way, I found out yesterday, I don't think I mentioned this on the air after he was messaging on YouTube. Alex Aguirre, did you have any idea? Maybe you knew already. Like, this may have come up on Big O's show. Did you know that Tremolio is a former professional wrestler? Did you know that?
No.
I did not know that. Like because I commented yesterday on his very long Google name, because his name appears as Tremolio Houdini de Santillana Cruz. And like I asked him, like, bro, is that your real name? Like the Houdini part has got to be made up. And he revealed to me that was his name as a Mexican professional wrestler. And he wore one of those luchador masks and everything. Tremolio, if you have any video, bro, I don't know how long ago it was you wrestled, if it was 5 years ago or 25 years ago, if you can link me to anything of your in-ring work, I would love to see it, man. Legitimately. Like, I don't even want to, like, mock you. Like, I'm genuinely curious. I grew up a massive pro wrestling fan. Haven't really been to it so much since around the turn of the century. Like, I think around 2000 was when I lost interest for the most part, because I was a big fan of the old Monday Night Wars back in the day. When Monday Night Raw, when they had the Attitude Era, and they were going head-to-head with Monday Nitro. One was on TNT, the other was on USA. I'm flipping back and forth between channels. The NWO shows up on one channel. Degeneration X shows up on the other channel. What a time to be alive. And the young wrestling fans who didn't live through that era, who did not live through the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars era and the NWO invasion, you have no idea what pro wrestling really is. No clue. No clue. Now, when I first got into it was when I was a really little kid in the 80s. And, you know, I had like do you remember they used to make those pillow pals? Like they used to make these pillows that, you know, you had Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh, yeah. You know, Jake the Snake Roberts, the whole thing. So I was into from like 89 on, I was into like the old school, before it was even the WWE, it was the WWF back then. I was into that back in the day. And then, dude, like around 1996 when the Monday Night Wars heated up, oh, there was nothing better. You know, I was, no joke, when I was 13 years old and I would get onto the internet, this was like circa 1997, I would spend more time trolling pro wrestling message boards than I would looking for porn. That's how into it I was. That's how into pro wrestling I was. I mean, most of the 13-year-old kids were sneaking on their parents' computer trying to find porno. I'm trying to get on all the pro wrestling message boards. It blew up, man. Dude, I remember, like it was yesterday, the day that I stumbled onto one of these pro wrestling message boards when I was 13, and I realized everybody knows it's fake. And none of us cared. Right? Because you would have people like posting theories about, you know, who they're going to put the strap on next, who's going to be the next champion, about like behind the scenes stuff. Because before I discovered these message boards, it was one of those weird things where like I was watching wrestling as a kid and I'm like, this doesn't necessarily look real, but I don't have enough evidence that it isn't real. And then the internet came around and it was like, poof, you're behind the curtain. And then I came to find out that, you know, listen, pro wrestling fans, they're not into it because they think it's real. They're into it because they're just fascinated by the storytelling and the drama of it. That's what I could never explain to my father. My father just thought it was the silliest thing in the world, and he thought I was a knucklehead for watching it. Like, dude, because they used to bring a lot of events to Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Like, every now and then there was a pay-per-view that came to town, or Monday Night Raw is in town, or Monday Nitro. And I'll tell you, I used to beg my father, please, take me to Monday Nitro. I'm begging you. The tickets are like $30 a piece, and the Miami, it might have been $25. I don't know what it was. Like $25, Miami Arena, upper level. I'm begging you. And my dad looked at me. He's like, I am not taking you to that nonsense. You want to go to a Dolphins game, you want to go to a soccer game, a Canes game, talk to me. I'm not taking you to it. My father refused. He would never take me to pro wrestling. He was not in anything fantastical. Whenever wrestling would come on the TV, I'm watching at home, my father would leave the room. He hated it. So I'd have to go to some of these events with, I had a friend of mine whose dad was actually into it, and he would take me, my buddy, and a couple of other friends to these events. And we would behave like knuckleheads. We'd bring like signs into the arenas, and we were so stupid. We would spell everything wrong, and it was awful. But what a time to be alive, my friends. Hey, if you want to get in via the text line, 844-416-8123 is how you reach us. That's 844-416-8123. You can watch us streaming live on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, search Onside Radio. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make us your favorite station. And when you're in there watching us live, 2 favors. Number 1, smash that like button. Hit the thumbs up button. Not only does it make me feel validated as a human being, but it also pumps us through the algorithm. That's the most important thing. You smash that like button, and we're going to show up on more people's homepages, and people who may not have discovered Onside Radio are going to find us, and they're going to watch us and listen to us, and you can help make new fans of the station. Lucho Lalo writes in, wow, that brought back memories with WWF and the American Airlines Arena, which was the Panthers' real home. Well, the Miami. I was going to say, he corrected it. Miami Arena. Dude, that was the thing back in the day. I used to go to that Miami Arena. I honestly, because I went to a few Heat games as a kid, but I was mostly, like, most of the live events that I went to were Canes football games. I did go to a handful of Heat games in the 90s. But in the 90s, I'm pretty sure I went to more pro wrestling events at the Miami Arena than I went to Heat games. Actually, I did go to some Panthers games as well. It was probably like, if you tally up Panthers plus Heat, it was probably a little bit more than the amount of wrestling events I went to. But I think I went to more pro wrestling events at the Miami Arena than I did either Heat games or Panthers games. It was absolutely crazy. Rafa in Miami writes, how about La Drama with that weak move last night on his team? Rafa, I literally spent the first segment on that. I know you probably tuned in a little bit late, but watching Lequit walk out on his team, 5 minutes and 41 seconds left in the game. Like, next year, you're probably going to see him walk out of a game after halftime. Like, he keeps one-upping himself. You remember last year, he walked off the court during a Lakers loss when there was about a minute left in the game. Going back to, I think it was 2009 in the playoffs, they got eliminated, his Cavaliers back then. They got eliminated by the Orlando Magic, and LeBron just left. He didn't shake any hands, was not sportsmanlike to anyone. So it's like every time LeBron quits on his team, he's got to up the ante. Like, he walks off right after the game is over. Then he walks off with a minute left in the game. Then he walks off with 5.5 minutes left in the game. Next year, you're going to see LeBron, if things are not going his way in the first quarter, like he doesn't get some BS call, he's just going to leave. He's going to one-up himself every single time. We also talked about what's going on with the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are doing it all wrong, okay? Danny Ainge retires, and Brad Stevens, who I think he's been exposed as a bit of a fraud as a head coach. I don't think he's lived up to the promise, to the hype surrounding his hire. And so apparently in Boston Celtics universe, when a head coach doesn't live up to the expectations, you don't fire him, no. You promote him. So Brad Stevens is becoming the new basketball czar in Boston. He's replacing Danny Ainge, and they're looking for a new head coach to replace Stevens. So Stevens gets promoted for reasons I cannot understand. That actually happened to me before. Have I ever told you this story, Alex, that I know I've mentioned at least part of this, okay? When I was 18 into 19, I had this weekend job, and it was, for me, it was basically like stealing money, okay? So a high school buddy of mine, his much older brother, it was one of those weird things where, like, I don't know, it must have been like a family that didn't believe in birth control or something, because the spread between sons. Like, they had 3 sons, and the oldest was like 13 years older than the youngest, and it was the same parents. And so I don't know what was going on. I don't know what was going on with the procreation in that household, but they had a very big spread between the ages of their sons. Like, the middle one was like 8 years older than the youngest one. It was a whole thing. So my high school buddy had an older brother who, when we were 18, he was like 30, and he owned his own business. He owned a youth sports league. And I started off as a referee in the youth sports league. And I was pretty tight with the older brother as well. Like, he would actually, he would hang out with us. He would buy us beer. It was this whole, it was almost like my big brother by extension, okay? So I was good friends with this guy who owned this business. And, I would have a weekend job. I would referee soccer games, flag football games, basketball games, and it was young kids. Like, the youngest age group was 5-year-olds, which is just pure chaos. I mean, you watch 5-year-olds trying to play sports, it's pure bedlam. Probably the oldest kids were 10. Long story short, I was a terrible referee. Terrible. I had no interest in the game being played. I was barely paying attention. I also thought the working conditions were not great, because being a flag football referee and being the only referee on the field, not having line judges and, people to help you out spotting things and stuff, I was a terrible referee. I was bad. And it was I'm not just saying I was bad. Parents would complain about me I was that bad. There was this one game where it was 7-year-olds playing flag football, and this kid, this quarterback, completed a pass that was the NFL equivalent would be a 60-yard bomb down the field. So this was 7-year-old, so it was probably really 25 yards down the field, but it was incredible. It was an incredible throw. The receiver laid out and made a diving catch. I had no angle on it, and I thought it hit the ground. I called it an incomplete pass, and it would have been the best play of that quarterback's life to that point. I mean, he's 7. What the hell does he know? Would have been the best play of his life to that point. Would have been the best play of the receiver's life to that point, making that catch. I had no angle. I thought the ball hit the ground when the kid tried to catch it. I called it an incomplete pass. It was such a bad call because everybody was telling me, all these parents were like, no, you're wrong. That was a completed pass. What are you doing? I had parents from both teams, even the team that had the play given up, were complaining to me. And I didn't reverse the call because I didn't want to appear weak. So do you know what happened to me after I made that call? And parents are complaining about me. A couple weeks later, I find out I'm getting promoted. So I got promoted from, and I think I made the same money, whatever. But I got promoted from referee to field supervisor. So they took my whistle away from me, and my new job was to ride around, because they would play at various big field complexes around, southern Dade County. And my new gig was I would actually get to drive a golf cart around and just look busy, and I got paid for it. I got Brad Stevens way before Stevens did it. I wish I was making Brad Stevens type of money, but I did a terrible job. I didn't get fired. I got promoted. It's the same thing Brad Stevens is doing. Now, the Celtics are doing it wrong. However, just the structure, the organizational structure of the way this is going down, this honestly might be a preview of what we see a few years down the road with the Miami Heat. Because my prediction, Alex, has long been, with the way that the transition of power is going to go, I don't think Riley's stepping away now. I don't think he's going to say anything like that this summer. I think Pat Riley is going to continue on being the Heat president for another year, 2, 3 years. But I think that when the time comes that Riley, who's 76 years old, as I say this, whether he's 77 or 80 years old, when he decides it's finally time to go officially move into that house of mine in Malibu and just not worry about life anymore, just retire, I think you're going to see a very similar transition of power as to what's happening in Boston. I think Eric Spoelstra is the next Pat Riley. People ask that question all the time. They're like, oh, what do you think when Riley steps away? Who do you think Mickey's going to replace him with? New president, new basketball czar? I don't think he's going to have to look very far, bros. I think it's going to be Eric Spoelstra. I think Eric Spoelstra, who has been under Riley's wing now for, the last 15-plus years? Close to 20 years he's been working under Pat Riley. I think you go back to like 02 or 03 with Spo, so almost 20 years. He's been groomed basically to replace Riley every step of the way. I know you had the little Stan Van Gundy thing because Spo just wasn't ready at that point. But then when Riley really stepped away for real a few years later, after, a couple years after winning that 06 championship, Eric Spoelstra was the guy who replaced him as head coach. And now Spoelstra, he's been around Riley, working hand in hand with Pat in every aspect of basketball operations. He's watching how the sausage gets made. And I think Riley, not only did he groom him to become the next head coach, I think he's grooming him to become the next president of basketball operations. So whenever Riley decides swan song time, right off into the sunset time, I think it's going to be Eric Spoelstra who takes over for him. Now, I don't even think it's impossible that he keeps coaching and kind of does what Riley did in the old days where he was the president and the coach, but maybe more likely it goes the way that things went with Brad Stevens, where Spoelstra just takes over the basketball operation side of it. But that to me makes the most sense. And listen, I know you have like other people in the pipeline, like Shane Battier on the basketball side and, on the business side, Mickey Arrison's son, Nick, from what I can tell, has a great head on his shoulders and has been doing a really good job kicking ass on the business side of things. So it's going to be a collaborative effort. But I think that the buck is going to stop with Spo, and I think when Riley decides it's time to step away, Spoelstra is going to make a similar transition to the one that Brad Stevens is making. But there's a big difference. Spoelstra is going to deserve that promotion. Unlike Brad Stevens, Eric Spoelstra is going to be 1,000% deserving of more power, probably more money, and a bigger title, in a way that Brad Stevens simply is not. So even though I don't think that what's happening right now in Boston is right and proper, I think we're going to see a similar thing happen in the next couple of years at I was going to say the American Airlines Arena, but as of June 1st, aren't we officially FTX Arena? Crypto, bro. All the tech people are in town for Bitcoin Miami this weekend, the big conference. Some people hate the tech bros. Like, I say embrace it, man. Like, I know that Miami politicians are far from perfect. The Miami mayor is far from perfect, but I don't see anything wrong with Miami embracing tech and wanting to become the crypto hub of America because they really want to make that happen. They want to become to crypto, what New York is for the stock exchange and the financial district and what San Francisco is for the tech hub. Like Miami wants to kind of become the crypto city. And I honestly think that could be good for everybody if it really catches on. Now it may do kind of the crappy thing that it did in San Francisco and makes our cost of living go way up. Actually, that would kind of suck. Like if everybody's rent goes up because all the crypto bros move in, I may be rethinking this. You know what? I may not want Miami to be the tech hub because if it becomes like San Francisco, if you've ever looked up real estate in San Francisco, if you think our rent is high, and I own my home, thank goodness, but property taxes I'm sure would go up and up and up. Like in San Francisco, like you have to be making like $200K a year to live in a shack. Like it's crazy the cost of living there. 844-416-8123 is the number. That's 844-416-8123. A couple of Dolphins notes I want to get into. The most under the radar Miami Dolphin, the most undervalued Miami Dolphin heading into next year is I think the way that I word it, plus a prediction on the NFL rookie who's going to have the most impact next season. We'll get into that and more when we come back here on the only locally owned sports station in South Florida. We are OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can connect with us at OnSideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. OnSideRadio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. If you missed Onside Zone with Big O, you missed.
The 25-year-old was reportedly arrested this past week near Vail, where a sheriff's deputy said he saw Camargo's car speeding and changing lanes erratically, which is always really smart when you're carrying a lot of drugs. You want to speed, you want to swerve, you want to look like you're drunk and high and all that. You want to cause as much attention. You want to bring as much attention to you when you're carrying a load of drugs. That's just a tip for you, thieves out there, you drug dealers, you criminals. Bring all the attention possible to you while you're committing a crime. It's really, really smart.
The Onside Zone with Big O, only on OnsideRadio.com.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodyOsDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody-Oss family. Dr. Moody-Oss is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyOsDental.com.
Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., listen to Red Card Radio with Austin Robillard, brought to you by Stout Bar and Grill in Oakland Park. With over 40 TVs, Stout is the home for soccer around the world. Stout Bar features Clonakilty whiskeys, the world's best Irish whiskey.
Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie. So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Do not sleep on the Miami Dolphins backfield next year. You have been warned. I think the production from the running back position, I think is going to be dramatically better in 2021 than it was in 2020. And I think that's going to come from every aspect of the offense. The offensive line will be better and more seasoned. The youth is going to grow into their roles. And we all know you can't have a running game without an offensive line. That's clear. That is known. The passing game is going to be better. And you've got speedsters stretching the field like Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle. As our friend Jakari Givens always says when he's on with us, teams will not be able to stack the box against the Miami Dolphins anymore. You know, listen, when Tua was struggling last year, he had his ups and his downs, and when he was having his downs, it made it even tougher to run the football if he couldn't complete enough passes downfield and move the chains. I think you're going to solve all of those problems at once this coming year, okay? I think now I would still, and we'll talk about it, would like to add another quality body to that backfield, but the Dolphins' running game and the running back position is going to be much more productive in the year of our Lord 2021. You have been warned about that. And on that note, I was reading this piece. Our friend Kyle Krabs pointed this out at DolphinsWire.com. Cynthia Freeland from NFL.com, who's really good, she has assembled a list of the most undervalued players in each team in the AFC, and she ranks Myles Gaskin as her most undervalued Miami Dolphin. And I think she said it well. She said, quote, use in the passing game, both as a target and pass blocker. And low-key, blocking is something he's very good at. I'm glad she brought it up. It drives Gaskin's productivity results. Next-gen stats show Gaskin averaged 2.0 receiving yards per route run last season. That's the third most among running backs who ran at least 150 routes. She said, it sounds weird to say, but there are only about 15 running backs in the league who add consistent and high production in the passing game as a target and as a blocker, and Gaskin rates 8th in passing production at the position. Furthermore, his plus 35 rush yards over expected were the most on the Dolphins in 2020. So I like that a lot, that she's giving a shout to Myles Gaskin, because I think Myles Gaskin, he's going to be, and he's got to stay healthy. Like, he's got to do his part. He's got to stay on the field. He dealt with injuries and COVID last year. His production per snap and per game was really good when healthy. He's just got to do more. Now, with that said, I want to step into the roundtable here. The Onside Radio Roundtable. I like the roundtable question for today. With $9 million under the cap, the Miami Dolphins still have some flexibility to add another free agent. Which player do you feel is needed most for the 2021 season? And this is a good list, by the way. Free safety Malik Hooker, who I like a lot. Injury concerns there, though. Defensive end Olivier Vernon. We've had him before, and I love him. Running back Duke Johnson. Oh, you give me 2 Miami Hurricanes guys in a row. I'm loving this. Outside linebacker / D-end Melvin Ingram, who's been in here for a visit, or offensive tackle / right tackle Morgan Moses. Or maybe the Dolphins don't need to add anyone until an injury takes place later in the year. Man. I'm going to take that last part out of the equation because that's no fun, right? If I were to sit here and tell you, no, we should just wait until later in the year, maybe someone gets hurt, I feel like I'm taking the easy way out if I say that. Out of that list, I can make a strong case, certainly, that defensive end is still a need, despite the fact that you just drafted a really good one in Jalen Phillips. And God, wouldn't it be nice to have both Jalen Phillips and Olivier Vernon on this roster? And honestly, don't sleep on Melvin Ingram, because Melvin Ingram is more versatile with the Dolphins' fronts, because he can play outside linebacker and DN, so 3-4. That's a good guy to have on the team. But let me tell you, don't sleep on Duke Johnson. I think Duke Johnson might be who I go with here. You'd be surprised that he averages 4.2 yards per carry. Like, he gets dogged a lot as a runner, and that's not his strength. His strength is catching passes out of the backfield, but he's still a weapon, right? And I know that for a running back, you can say he's older because he's been 6 years in the NFL. For a lot of other positions, that's not a big deal. For running back, you're probably on the back 9, 6 years into the league. But he's still so productive catching passes out of the backfield. Like, he gives you the capability of adding a guy with excellent wide receiver traits lining up as a running back. And I think for the type of vertical passing game the Dolphins want to create, I think Duke Johnson would be the perfect weapon, right? If we refer to Jalen Waddle as weapon X, Duke can be weapon Y. Like, he offers you another great variable through the passing game. And listen, he's more of a liability as a runner, and he can be a health risk with his size and his frame, but his productivity in the passing game, boy, Duke Johnson, to me, would be a fun addition. And you talk about adding toys to this offense, and that would satisfy me a bit, because, like a lot of you, I complained coming out of the draft that, we didn't take anybody until the 6th round or the 7th round with Jared Dokes, and, we waited too long. Well, I mean, if you can get Duke Johnson, you can get me a bit of a weapon here. Andy in Scotland says, evening all, fins up. He says, Olivier Vernon, please. If they get either of my Canes, I'm not going to complain. I have a feeling Toast probably agrees with me on that, being he's as big of a Miami Hurricanes backer as I am. If they were to get Duke Johnson or Olivier Vernon, who the Dolphins had drafted, that would be a nice reunion. I would not complain. Joseph Rodriguez says Melvin Ingram or Moses. So everyone, cast your votes, man, in the live chat. On YouTube, or send us a text message at 844-416-8123. That's 416-8123. I'll just tell you, though, I'm thinking about the possibilities of the weapons that can make Tua Tagovailoa more productive in the passing game, and the idea of adding Duke Johnson into that mix, it gets me excited, man. It really gets me excited. And I gave him a little shout earlier this week as well. 844-416-8123 is how you reach us. That's 844-416-8123. Wow. Here's a story I want to get to later this hour. Are meat eaters getting attacked by vegans? Like, I think the vegans have declared war on us. Alex Aguirre, you're a meat eater as well, right? You go down to McDonald's and grab Big Macs a lot, and it's crazy because you probably weigh 130 pounds soaking wet. So I might want to get on your diet.
I think I weigh like 180, 185.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're tall though. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, my diet's not very good. But I don't give a
I
shit.
always see every day. I see this dude with the McDonald's cup. Like I'm like, man, I wish that worked for me. How you're like 25, right?
Yeah.
It's a metabolism thing for sure.
I'm always hungry, man.
Dude, when I was like, my metabolism probably started slowing down even by 25, if I'm being honest. But when I was 18, 19, because like I'm always. Best year of my life was 2003. It was the best year of my life.
That's a good year.
It was a great year, and that was when that was when I had the best luck with the co-eds on campus. Freshman year, all I did was I spent all day in the weight room. That's all that I did. I didn't study. I just I drank beers and went to the weight room. But I had a diet like when I was 19 years old. I was eating crap. Like I was eating that was the year when I ate 63 chicken wings in one sitting.
Holy crap.
You wouldn't believe the damage I was doing to those foods, man. I was not eating well, and yet I looked like a thoroughbred back in those days. So it's like running up a high credit card balance. At some point, you got to pay it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
So, like...
at some point you got to pay for it. Oh, I'm hoping I don't have to. I hope that doesn't happen to me.
So, dude, like when I was 18, 19... Like me and my frat buddies, like one night a week, we would go to like an all-you-can-eat various types of restaurants, and we would do like eating contests. Like I couldn't eat sushi for 10 years, and I love sushi now, but from 2003 to like 2013, I couldn't eat sushi because I did an eating contest when I was a freshman in college where we went to an all-you-can-eat sushi spot. And I had 105 pieces of sushi, and I didn't even win. I came in second, but I hated the world. Like it made me sick. Like I couldn't eat like for 10 years. I barely ate seafood for the next 10 years, and
I
then
wouldn't either.
Yeah, 2013 I had an awakening, and I'm like, you know what? I like sushi again. We're back in. Like this when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
How much did the winner eat?
I think he beat me by 1.
Oh man!
Like I got to 105 and. I was tapped out, and he knew he just had to eat one more to beat me, and yeah, that's all she wrote.
Yeah,
it was 4 of us. It was 4 of us that came in second.
Hey, valiant effort, man.
Yeah, and like after eating 105 pieces of sushi, I felt terrible, but after eating 63 chicken wings, I felt fine. It was crazy. Like I actually could have eaten more, but we didn't want to order another. We didn't want to make another order of wings. I think was what happened. It's like I actually could have kept going. I think I ate some French fries as well. It was crazy. Like
Poor chef.
Chef, it was Hooters, bro.
Oh, I'm talking about the sushi.
Oh, the sushi chef. Yeah. My bad. I thought you. What you said?
No,
I was talking about
the wings.
The poor chef.
That's not a chef.
I think I might have put them out of business, the sushi place, because like it closed down shortly after that. It was I can't remember what it was called, but it was in the Gables. It was in Coral Gables. If anyone can remember, in 2003, an all-you-can-eat sushi shop in Coral Gables. It was very popular, but they closed down. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk with Clay Ferrero from WPLG. Hey, start your morning every day at 8 a.m. with Toasted Sports. Toast covers all the local sports stories while providing some great Miami Hurricanes insight. Download, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Toasted Sports, 8 to 10 a.m. only at OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can connect with us at OnsideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. OnsideRadio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than the roof above the people you love. At Onside Radio, we recommend Chase Roofing and Contracting. At chaseroofing.com, they care about the customer. Chase Roofing provides reliable roof installation and repair without the destruction to our environment. Chase Roofing is powered by Tamara, who is owner and operated for 18 years. chaseroofing.com is Google top rated and a AAA standing with the Better Business Bureau. Open 24/7. Call them today. Trust chaseroofing.com to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Keeping you informed in the world of sports. With an OnsideRadio.com sports update.
Danny Ainge has stepped down as president of basketball operations. Brad Stevens, the former coach, will move to the front office in a full-time role, and search for a new head coach is expected to start, reported by ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Longtime men's basketball coach Coach K has announced that he'll be retiring after the 2021-2022 season. The Miami Marlins lost 5-1 last night to the Toronto Blue Jays. The teams are back at it tonight at 7:07. Pablo Lopez will be on the mound for your fish. The Nets have finished off the Boston Celtics in a 5-game series, 123-109. Denver took a 3-2 series lead after a 147-140 win over the Portland Trail Blazers. Damian Lillard dropped 55 points in the loss. The Phoenix Suns are one game away from sending the defending champions home in the first round after a 115-85 blowout in Game 5. You're listening to the only locally owned South Florida sports talk station. Coming up, it's more Man of the Match with Alex Donno right here on OnsideRadio.com.
With all this sizzling meat and crunchy veggies nestled between toasty flatbread, who should get credit for Papa John's new papadilla? The person who invented pizza or the person who invented folding? Well, whoever it is, a tip of the tongue hat to you, sir or madam. Get a new papadilla, 4 flavors, just $6 each. Better ingredients, better pizza, better than a sandwich. Papa John's.
My daughter Brinley is here at St. Jude. Coming here was literally life or death, and it was so scary. But St. Jude is fighting for one goal, like this one mission, life. And that gave us hope. We haven't received a single bill from St. Jude, so I really can just focus on what's best for Brinley.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, Man of the Match. We love bringing on our good friend Clay Ferrero, sports reporter and anchor from WPLG Local 10. Clay, good afternoon, man. How are you?
Doing great, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing so well. And, there are some big stories in the NBA today. None bigger than Danny Ainge, quote-unquote, retiring. I say quote-unquote because I think other teams are going to maybe go after him. But he's stepping away from Boston, and I don't really understand why Brad Stevens deserves a promotion, but he's being promoted to Danny Ainge's spot. Now, before we get into that, let me tie it into the Miami Heat, Clay, because even though, I don't think Brad Stevens necessarily deserves the promotion he's getting, I do think that what Boston is doing right now looks a lot like what the Heat are going to do a few years down the road whenever Pat Riley decides to step away, because I'm thinking Eric Spoelstra becomes the new Riley after Riley steps away, and he might even try to keep coaching like the way that Riley did back when he was the president of basketball operations and the head coach. But, do you think, like I do, that Spoelstra will be the next Riley, or do you think they go in another direction?
It's funny you say that. That's kind of been the chatter for a little while that I've heard as well. Not anything sourced, but I think that's been kind of the feeling from people who are around the organization. But can I say this off the top? And I got to give credit. I wish I knew the name of the person who said this on Twitter, but the best joke I heard all day was this morning when I think it was Woj that first reported that Danny Ainge was seriously considering stepping down. Somebody's first response was, Danny is going to get really, really, really close to stepping down and then just decide that the price is too high and decide to back off.
That is so good.
It was just perfect. It was. I have our morning anchor, Eric Yutzi, is a Celtics fan, and so I had to send him that, and he died laughing. So, it's just so representative of Ainge's entire career. But, yeah, I've heard that for a while. I think the moves that they've made front office-wise, you can kind of see the direction that a lot of this stuff is heading. I think you've got Andy Ellisberg, who, will always have a place as long as he wants because he's just so phenomenal at what he does. And he has such great relationships with people around the league. I remember we were out at an event one day, and Pat Riley was having a little fun with Andy and talking about how he's on a text thread with all these other executives, and they talk about pretty much everything except basketball. And then obviously to go out and they hire Shane Battier, and so you can see the vision for what they're trying to put together for the future of the organization, and certainly the coaching tree that comes down, the roots that come down from Riley and from Spoelstra, between Juwan Howard and Dan Craig. I mean, you look around and there are just so many potential options if and when Spo decides to do what Brad Stevens
Fizdale as well. I wouldn't rule out Fizdale.
Yeah, that's another great one. So, yeah, I mean, you can see there's so many natural progressions that could somewhat follow what the Celtics are doing.
Now, what do you think about what Boston is doing? Because I don't really think Brad Stevens has done a particularly good job as their head coach. So are you kind of surprised that now he gets a promotion? And I know he won't be coaching anymore, but he gets more power now.
This is what I wonder is if he's stepping into that role, I want to see what moves he makes because – now he's not going to be emotionally attached to any of the moves that Ainge made, right? Like if you're looking back at some of the moves that Ainge has made, and then Stevens is in that locker room and he's sitting there thinking to himself, man, this isn't working. Like whether it's – I've seen Marcus Smart's name brought up a lot in potential trades or, whoever it might be, or Ainge who has made all these moves in the past and actually done a decent job bringing in young players. He seemed to have a good eye for talent, but then he never wants to let them go. Well, I'm curious to see with Stevens, is he less inclined to be emotionally attached to the guys that Ainge brought in and potentially make some moves? So I think that's what I'm looking forward to from just an NBA news perspective is what does Boston do personnel-wise? I mean, are they now going to try to make some of the moves that Ainge was afraid to make because Stevens has been in that locker room and he knows a little bit more and is less emotionally attached and he's willing to make some of those moves?
Clay, does it drive you crazy to see the Heat getting called bubble frauds? Because shouldn't the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers, who are going to get eliminated, shouldn't they be bubble frauds as well then?
Oh, well, yeah, and I think that's the thing that's so frustrating if you're a Heat fan is why are the Heat being singled? Now, I'll say this. The Heat are the only team that got swept. So, they deserve every ounce of the of the criticism that they're taking for that part of it. But, I think you could make the case that this year was just as weird, if not weirder, than last year because of the shortened off season. And I don't think it's a coincidence that look at the 4 teams that made the conference finals last year. Denver, the Lakers, the Heat, and the Celtics. What do they all have in common? They've all suffered massive injuries. I think Denver is now having to go out and sign guys from like the G League for their backcourt. I mean, they've lost so many guys at the guard position, and then obviously, Boston lost Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker's, and obviously the Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and we could rattle off all the Heat's issues with injuries and COVID. And so, I don't think it's a coincidence that the 4 teams that were in the bubble the longest and also had the shortest off season also had the roughest time this season. We're talking about taking a step back from what they did last season. Now, with all that said, that is no excuse for how this season ended for the Heat, and changes have to be made. I think you can look at it as a reason why there was some level of disappointment, while at the same time evaluating the entire roster and saying this is not good enough and changes have to be made moving forward.
Is there a whale to be had this offseason? I know that my guy Ira Winderman tries to talk me out of having any hope of Kawhi Leonard coming here, but I refuse to give up hope. I mean, when I hear Stephen A. Smith, who did predict LeBron James to Miami back in 2010, when I hear him talking about whispers of Kawhi's relationship with Jimmy and don't rule out Miami, I'm not going to rule out Miami.
Well, no, and I'll say this, and I know Heat fans, there are a lot of Heat fans that hate the Dallas Mavericks. But, man, hey, it's a shame Luka got hurt because I think if the Clippers lose in the first round, and hopefully Luka comes back and is healthy, but Clippers lose in the first round again, what do you do if you're Steve Ballmer? I mean, at some point you got to kind of step back and say, what are we doing here? And, you go out and you make all these moves to get knocked out this early again. And so I feel like, it may not all 100% be Kawhi just pushing his way out. I'm not saying that Ballmer would go to Kawhi and say, hey, I'd rather you not pick up your option. But if they decide that this roster isn't good enough to get out of the first round and they're looking at the team and saying, hey, we can't make any improvements without taking a few steps back salary-wise, Kawhi may want out anyway. So I thought that the best chance, and I still think the best chance for the Heat to get Kawhi would be for Dallas to win this series. And Ramona Shelburne actually said something similar the other night, not directly tied to Miami, but just that, look at the Clippers losing the first round again, and she's obviously very connected to L.A. basketball. So if the Clippers lose again in the first round, they may have to look at scrapping this entire thing and starting all over again because you're paying all this money and you've made all these moves and you have very few avenues to improve because of all the draft picks that you've given up, and you're getting knocked out in the first round. And it's playoff this way. You can't fire another coach. You can, but at some point you got to look at the personnel. So I don't rule anything out. And I do think I don't know enough about the relationship between Kyle Lowry and Kawhi Leonard, but I do know the relationship between Jimmy Butler and Kawhi, and I do know the relationship between Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry, and I do know that Kyle Lowry and Kawhi Leonard won a championship together. So, you put all those things together, and there is a path if they want to make that happen for Jimmy, Kyle, and Kawhi to get together down here. They just have to find a way to make it happen.
Joined here by Clay Ferrero, sports anchor and reporter from WPLG. We got an interesting weekend coming up locally, Clay, sports and otherwise. I mean, we've got, and I think it's on Sunday, which is weird, the Mayweather-Logan Paul fight at Hard Rock Stadium. That is obviously sportsy entertainment. We have the Bitcoin Miami conference coming up this week. Are you going to be out at anything this weekend, Clay, for Channel 10?
I'm actually going out to there's another Mayweather Paul event tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So I even before all that, I'm going out to the thing tomorrow. And, I made this is where we take you behind the curtain a little bit. I was out at the event, the media event at Hard Rock Stadium a couple of weeks ago.
The one with the
when
hat.
The fight broke out. If you want to call it a fight, I don't even know what you call it.
I got your hat.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm out there, and I'm looking at the clock, and I know that our executive producer wants it on for the 5 o'clock newscast. And I'm looking at the clock, and it's like 4 o'clock, and I'm like, man, I got to be. So after the photo op, which they said plenty, like we had plenty of stuff that I could use. I was like, all right, well, I got enough that I can put together a package, or those industry terms, whatever.
Yeah.
But I got enough to put together a story with this. So I'm gonna ditch the interview session, the red carpet stuff, and just go back. Sure enough, I get back to the station, and right when I walk in, Brendan Tobin from 790 posts the video of the "I got your hat" thing. So I left before that even happened. So thankfully, Tobin's a great friend of ours, and he helped out. We got in touch with him and said, "Hey, do you mind if we steal your video?" And he said, "No, absolutely, go for it." So
awesome.
He hooked us up with the video, and then Will and I had a little fun. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that. As Tobin explained it to me, the undercard is actually really, really good for that.
Yeah.
Fight-wise, that everybody's going to look at this as kind of a joke, if any, if you want to use that term, with Paul taking on Mayweather, but that it's actually a great promotional event for some pretty good fights on the undercard. So yeah, I'll be out there tomorrow, and I won't leave early this time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you got to stay till the very end, because with these YouTube guys and with Mayweather, you never know what's going to happen. Awesome stuff here as always. Clay Ferrero, you want to check him out on Twitter at ClayWPLG and watch him on WPLG Channel 10. Clay, thank you so much for the time, and enjoy that mayhem tomorrow.
Anytime, my man. Take care.
Good stuff. Man, I can't believe he left before Gotcha Hat. It's like the time, I admit it, I left the Brock Berlin comeback game. I left early against Florida. I made a terrible. That was probably a little bit worse than leaving before Gotcha Hat. But I know what it's like to leave an event early and regret it later on. 844-416-8123 is how you reach us. 844-416-8123. Are the vegans declaring war on the meat eaters? We get to that and more when we come back. Hey, every Monday, Heat and NBA fans can catch the best hour of basketball talk when Ethan Skolnick and Ira Winterman host the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint Show. Listen to two of the most knowledgeable and connected reporters in the business. Get year-round insight every Monday from 10 to 11 a.m. with Inside the Paint on the home for hardcore basketball fans, OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. If you missed Onside Zone with Big O, you missed.
Big O, Tito is not allowed in the Boom Boom Room. Never seen Smokey and the Bandit. Never seen Top Gun. What's the matter with these kids? Look at that. Now you can't hang out with Salma, Paige, Sophia. See, now you can't hang out with the ladies because you have not seen Top Gun.
Yeah, I would just hope that, like I said, the Boom Boom Room is sanitized. I would hope.
Well, I don't know, but did you hear about the 81-person orgy?
No.
What is wrong with you?
The Onside Zone with Big O, only on OnSideRadio.com. You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
Can I get a captain?
Captain and what?
Captain and Ginger.
I can't hear you.
Captain and Ginger.
He was a captain and ginger, captain and ginger. He was a captain and ginger.
Captain Morgan, official partner of Major League Soccer.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
You remember a few weeks ago, of course you remember it because it drove people into a frenzy, when that gas pipeline got hacked and shut down temporarily, and it made people freak out and panic buy gasoline, including down here. where, by the way, our supply was not affected by it. It was misunderstanding. We do not get our gas from that pipeline, but that pipeline was hacked. They demanded a bunch of Bitcoin as ransom, and I think they got paid that. God, I should get into that line of work. I want more Bitcoin. No, I would never be a hacker. I don't know enough about computers. But how about this? So they're now going after the beef industry. You can't convince me these aren't vegans going to war with us. I don't know who's behind these hackings, but they're trying to shut down the meat industry, my friends. A cyber attack on JBS SA, which is the largest meat producer globally, forced the shutdown of all its U.S. beef plants, wiping out output from facilities that supply almost a quarter of American supplies. All of the company's fed beef and regional beef plants were forced to shutter, and all other JBS meatpacking facilities in the country experienced some level of disruption to operations, according to an official with the U.S. Food and Commercial Workers International Union. JBS didn't immediately respond to our request for comment. The union represents workers at the company's plants in the U.S. So there's a lot more to this story, but as you can imagine, when you have to shut down 1/5 of the United States beef plants, that creates a shortage, that creates prices rising, and it throws everything into chaos. So don't be surprised, like if in the near future you go to the supermarket or you go to, Omaha Steaks or whatever butcher you go to buy your meat, and it's insanely priced. You can blame the goddamn vegans on it, or whoever it was that hacked this. I don't know if I can officially blame PETA for this, but somebody hacked this U.S. beef industry, and it's wreaking havoc now. So now my question is, and maybe people who understand economics a little bit better than me, or commodities really, because I mean, this is economics or economics, but the commodities branch of it. So if there is a shortage of beef, will the higher prices of that also trickle over to alternatives, other meats, right? Because I mean, I'm not a goddamn hippie. Like I eat meat with just about every meal. It's part of life, bros. So is chicken also going to be more expensive because of this? Is veal going to be more expensive because of this? Because if I need to hunker down and not eat beef for a few weeks, I think I can make that sacrifice. But I can't give up all meat for this. If I have to pay, $30 for a breast of chicken or something in the coming days, there's going to be hell to pay. Cap for Life writes in, it's the Russians, bro. Listen, man, we got a lot of enemies, my friend. Cap, it could be the Russians. It could be the Chinese. Could be the North Koreans. Remember when they hacked Sony years ago? It could be people within our own country. It could be Canada. I've never trusted them completely. Are we sure we know what they're doing up there? They act really nice, but are you sure they're not trying to, to get into our good graces just to attack us from within? All these snowbirds down here, I don't know what they're up to. I don't trust anybody. Cap for Life says, I guarantee they hacked DraftKings or FanDuel next bet, Donno. Is that why I keep losing sports bets, Cap? Do you think they're hacking me and making bad selections? Because, dude, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I've been getting my ass kicked for the last couple weeks. This is cyclical, bros. The same way that, my crypto has some dips. It's got some peaks and valleys. I have hit a pretty massive valley with my sports betting success as of late. But we'll climb out of it. And I know Friday, our buddy Lee Sterling is going to be back to make picks. I haven't had him for the last it's been almost 2 weeks since I had him on the show because he had to miss last week for family reasons. He's going to be locked in on Friday to help us make some selections, but it's tough, man. Tony 2 times writes, they're smoking a ton of weed and tripping on mushrooms in Vancouver, which, again, they're trying to make us think they're cool. Next thing you know, they're shutting down our meat supply. Canada, can't trust them. 844-416-8123. 5 o'clock hour coming up at 5:20. We're going to talk with Alan Poupar from Sports Illustrated and NHL.com. Got a couple football stories I want to get into when we come back. The NFL rookie who's going to have the biggest impact this coming season, a prediction on that. Plus, how about this for college football? I know a lot of people will say, hey, Miami, as in the Hurricanes, are no longer relevant. If you think Miami has had a dip, here's a program that's basically finished. And I'm glad Paul Feinbaum pointed this out. It's nice to hear him talk crap about a program other than my University of Miami Hurricanes. So, hey, Onside Radio understands gaming is a big part of the sports landscape. That's why every day we keep you updated with some of the latest gaming news with Onside Radio's E-Minute, hosted by Toast, Kai, and Michael Christian. If you miss it, it's podcasted daily. Search Onside Radio on all platforms, subscribe, rate, and review. OnsideRadio.com, the station gamers call home.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodyasDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody-Ass family. Dr. Moody-Ass is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyAsDental.com.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the Radio.net app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station.
Hey, it's Toast. Last year when I had PGT custom windows and doors installed on my house by B&T Windows and Doors, I knew about the hurricane protection. What I didn't know? The silence. Oh my goodness, my house is so quiet now. One of those cars goes tearing down the street with the crazy loud muffler. Yeah, I don't hear it anymore. It's unbelievable. I didn't realize how noisy my house was beforehand. You've got to get PGT custom windows and doors installed in your pad today. Call B&T Windows and Doors, 954-233-0126. That's 954-233-0126.
When you're tired of watching the sun damage your furniture or raise your electric bill, it's time to do what we did here at OnsideRadio.com studio. Call A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise. A Shade Above Window Fashions has a great selection of blackout shades to choose from. We can almost create a complete blackout for your bedroom or media room. Call them at 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Window Fashion.
Miami Dolphins fans can always count on the best coverage at OnsideRadio.com. Every week, keep up with your favorite team as Dolphins writer Omar Kelly joins us with exclusive reports. And when news breaks, catch the EJDConstruction.com Miami Dolphins report on the home for Dolphins fans everywhere, OnsideRadio.com. You're listening to the flagship station of Inter Miami CF, OnsideRadio.com. Follow us on social media at Onside Radio.
The viewpoints, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno.
It's all yours. Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, welcome into the 5 o'clock hour here. Man of the Match on Onside Radio. Taking you till 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock is when we hand it off to our good friend Stephen D. from Miami Sports Music for the Fans. He's going to be rocking and rolling as he does every weeknight from 6 until 7 p.m. How about this? And you know what? I don't think about this program very often, and that backs up this argument, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of Paul Feinbaum, and so just because I agree with something he said today doesn't mean I like him, and I think that he, and now actually, you know what? I shouldn't even say I don't like him. I'm entertained by him, right? I mean, if in the middle of a college football season, you're sitting on your ass at home, flipping through channels, and they air that Paul Feinbaum radio show, they air the televised version of it on the SEC network, and he's got some characters who call in. SEC country. Hey, Paul, man. Mr. Feinbaum, what do you think about the tie this year? You think Bama's going to win another championship? What do you think, Paul? Like, the phone calls that dude gets, I mean, it's a slice of Americana. It really is. But Feinbaum has made me angry more than a few times disparaging words about the Miami football program. Now, some of what he says might be true, but when he referred to Miami a season or two ago as a third world program, I don't know. I found that to be kind of offensive, because it really does, bring up, hints of what sounds to be underlying racism, whether he did it on purpose or not. I'm not really a fan of some of the things he said about the University of Miami, but Feinbaum said something this morning on Get Up. I think he's right. So he was talking about the state of the Texas Longhorns, and Feinbaum said it, put it right on Front Street. Texas is not a relevant program anymore, he said. And if you compare Texas, you're right. Like, schools that financially and power-wise and size-wise, they should be competing with the Alabamas and the Clemsons and the Ohio States of the world, and they fall so short of that mark. They don't even compete with Oklahoma anymore. And as they point out in this piece from thebiglead.com, they say, now this is all a bit funny when one considers the Longhorn Network and how big of a dud that has been, at least anecdotally. ESPN would figure to be greatly served by increased interest outside of the Longhorns' existing fan base. Honestly, before I read this, I didn't realize the Longhorn Network still existed. How long ago did they launch that? 5-6 years ago? I thought it was a crazy idea at the time. Like, they're going to launch, because it's one thing, the SEC network is one thing. The ACC network is one thing. You're covering, 16 programs in each of those conferences. When ESPN announced, however many years ago, we are launching the Longhorn Network, and it's not like a local Austin, Texas-based, cable access thing. No, this is a national network. We are launching a national network that's covering one program. I thought it was odd, but listen, I took it at the time. I'm going to guess it was around 2013 or 2014 when the Longhorn Network launched. And when it launched, I was thinking, okay, you know what? ESPN probably knows what they're doing. I guess the Texas Longhorn program is so massive, they can carry an entire network. And it's a bit laughable because their program has become a laughing stock. As they point out here in this piece, Texas went 5-7 in 2010, a year after playing in the BCS championship game. The battle to truly get back has had several stops and starts. A prevailing narrative that this is a program in complete disrepair is countered by a bit of a brief flash in 2018 that saw the Longhorns win 10 games and finish 9th in the final AP poll. Texas has finished in the top 25 in each of the past 3 seasons, yet no one should have any confidence in the program competing for a playoff spot anytime soon, and becoming a perennial contender again is more of a long-term goal than a quick fix. So do you agree that Texas is not a relevant program anymore? My thing is, they haven't been relevant, but to me, I look at a university that size, and they are in a football hotbed. Like you can compare Texas to a program like the University of Florida. You make poor decisions, you hire the wrong coaches. Like when Florida had that dolt Will Muschamp and the shark lover, what was his name, McElwain. You hire, you make some awful mistakes with who you bring in, and it can set a program back. But, much in the way that the University of Florida is in one of the hottest recruiting states in the country, Texas is right there. I mean, Florida probably a little bit better, but you're splitting hairs. I mean, when it comes to Texas high school football, it is a rich, ripe recruiting ground. And the Texas Longhorns program, they've got so much money, so many rich alums, so many donors, so many boosters. It's a sleeping giant, right? And at some point, Texas is going to get good again, even if by accident, right? It's always one of the things that I worry about as an alumnus and a supporter and a backer of the University of Miami. It's more difficult for Miami to be a championship contender than it is for Texas or Florida to be a championship contender, because Miami is at a huge handicap compared to one of these gigantic state schools, right? I mean, the Miami Hurricanes, They did an incredible job in the 1980s, 1990s, carry it over into the early 2000s because they figured out how to keep the great college players home. They figured out how to capture lightning in the bottle. Just unfortunately, what made Miami successful for those decades, it wasn't sustainable based on the way the college football climate changed, right? Because the college football climate, it became more of a big business, right? I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, when Miami had rundown facilities, even the big schools had rundown facilities because facilities weren't a big priority back then. And even if some schools had way better facilities than Miami, high school recruits didn't care about those things back then. But that became more of a priority, right? And as the TV coverage got bigger and bigger and bigger, the difference between the haves and the have-nots got bigger. And, these gigantic programs in the big college towns maybe get a little bit more, national coverage and national love, and it's easier to keep feeding that beast. So I'm not saying Miami can't ever be great again. I'm not saying Miami's not going to win another national championship. I will go to my grave saying at some point I'm going to be celebrating a college football playoff title in orange and green. I'm just saying that it's a lot tougher for a school like Miami with a tiny alumni base by comparison, with tiny amounts of financial donations by comparison. And, being located in a place like Coral Gables where you can't build an on-campus stadium because local laws don't allow you to build an on-campus stadium. Now, they do play in a state-of-the-art professional stadium, but a lot of people say that's not really the same as having your own stadium. So, it's a lot tougher for a school like Miami to come out of a bad period than it is a school like Texas, because Texas is always just – they're one head coaching hire away from becoming a powerhouse again. They really are, because location, size, financials, all the ingredients are there. They've just done it wrong. Like, there's no reason why Texas shouldn't be having the same kind of success that Ohio State and Alabama, and not to say these guys are winning titles, but Oklahoma has been enjoying more success than Texas, and there's no reason for that. I mean, Texas should be enjoying just as much success as any of these other programs, Clemson included, because they have the size and the financial power to do so. So it's going to be a lot easier for them to get out of it. So I guess you can say that they're not a relevant program, but they can become a relevant program much more easily than my beloved Canes can. Cap for Life writes in, pretty simple, my friend. You want to go after our he was talking about the he was talking about the meat thing, but I asked him because he said they're going to go after FanDuel and DraftKings next, and I asked him why he thinks that. He says, pretty simple, my friend. You want to go after our economic balance, you go after the part that hits hard the most, food and football. Oh my God, can you imagine if first they take my beef away from me and then they take my bets away from me? Oh my God, I'm gonna have to open my own sports book. Brooklyn Rob writes in, Texas has not been relevant since Vince Young, no matter how much money the alums throw at it. Talk about a bad investment. They'll figure it out eventually. Mike No Go Zone says, so many people don't realize that the University of Miami is a modestly sized private school. You're right about that, Mike. And that's actually a compliment to Miami. I mean, when Miami was winning 5 national championships between 1983 and 2001, and the baseball team was winning national titles as well, and, they were, one of the more respected sports programs in the country. Of course, people who don't know what the school is are just going to assume, it must be a gigantic a gigantic public institution. People think about, or at least they thought about Miami the same way they thought about Florida and Florida State. Oh, this must be a gigantic public university. And that's honestly, that's a compliment to Miami's own success, because you would never imagine that a program that enjoys that much winning would actually be at such a financial disadvantage, right? And, listen, obviously there are some private schools out there that can enjoy a tad more success. Not to say these guys have been a national powerhouse, but, Notre Dame, they find ways to keep themselves relevant. Another example of, a smaller, they're bigger than Miami a little bit, but another private institution that has struggled a little bit to stay relevant is USC. I mean, USC, I think, has had pretty similar issues to Miami. It was a little bit more recent when they had their last winning period, but, USC has not been the powerhouse program that they once were. And a lot of people don't realize USC is a private school. They assume, oh, that's Southern California. It's a public university. No, it is bigger than Miami. I've looked up the stats before. It's bigger than the University of Miami, but it is a private university. So they have some of the same challenges that we have here. 844-416-8123 is how you get in on the text line. That's 844-416-8123. We are going to talk some Miami Dolphins and some Florida Panthers with our good buddy Alan Poupar, who covers the Dolphins for Sports Illustrated, and he covers the Florida Panthers. He's the NHL.com Florida correspondent. He's going to join us next here on Onside Radio. Hey, Florida Panthers fans have a place to call home every Saturday morning as Cats insider David Dwork will host Chirping the Cats Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. Onside Radio is committed to all sports. Panthers fans can now connect every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. with Dwork on the home for Panthers fans worldwide, OnsideRadio.com.
Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can now watch Onside Radio daily by subscribing to our YouTube and Twitch channels. Search Onside Radio. Log on, subscribe, rate, and review Onside Radio on YouTube and Twitch. Find out why Big O has a face for radio. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's home for real sports talk.
If you're looking for a change from the everyday restaurant, then you need to get to Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, homemade potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. Take their famous Boot Tour Challenge, and there's now outdoor seating available in their new beer garden with live music. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant, or call them for reservations or pickup at 954-785-7565. So get over to 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach to Zagat-rated Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty, to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today.
You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com. South Florida's true hometown station. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, welcome back in. Man of the Match here on Onside Radio. I'm Alex Donno, taking you guys up until 6 o'clock tonight. We love talking some football and some hockey with one of the most well-rounded journalists here in the market. Alan Poupar joins us. He covers the Dolphins for Sports Illustrated. He's the NHL.com Florida correspondent, covers the Panthers at a high level as well. Good afternoon, Alan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing so well. And, you know, we were all the shows, Alan, discussed something today. We do a roundtable question every day on Onside Radio. All the hosts weigh in on this, and it's Dolphins related, so I wanted to get your take. Now, the Dolphins have about $9 million under the cap. Maybe they choose to use it. Maybe they choose to wait. But if you look at some of the players available that they might be interested in, if you could choose to sign one of these players, Alan, between free safety Malik Hooker, Defensive end Olivier Vernon, who we remember down here, of course. Running back Duke Johnson, another former Cane. Outside linebacker, defensive end Melvin Ingram, who's visited, or offensive tackle Morgan Moses. If you could choose between one of those players, and you have to choose one, who would you like there?
Is money the same? Is money a factor involved in this choice?
Yeah, let's choose. Let's. You know what? You can give me an answer for both. Let's first assume that money is not a factor, that it's basically a wash.
Okay, if money's a wash, the one player out of that group I would take, assuming he checks out medically because he's coming off an Achilles injury, would be by far Olivier Vernon.
Yeah.
Who was actually very productive last year with the Browns until he went down with that injury and unfortunately had to miss the playoffs. But he showed he's still a really good player. So if the Achilles checks out, and Cameron Wake's proof that you can come back from an Achilles even in your 30s, he would be the choice. Now, whether he'd be more pricey than others, certainly would be more pricey than Malik Hooker, for example. Although Malik Hooker probably doesn't fly anymore since the Dolphins signed Jason McCourty, who can play safety as well as cornerback, along with the two recent draft picks that the Dolphins got in Holland and Brandon Jones. So I don't see that happening, and I don't necessarily see that as a major need. Duke Johnson's another short back, and the Dolphins have a lot of those guys already with Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed. I don't know that he brings you that much that you don't already have. So I think from all angles, the answer would be Olivier Vernon.
I like it. Would you be, hypothetically, willing to take on a headache like Le'Veon Bell, or do you think the juice is not worth that squeeze?
That's a great question. The problem is his play dropped off so
really
dramatically when we went to the Jets.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, how much the O-line played into that, how much of his success before that was a result of playing behind what at the time was a really, really good Steelers line. So, that one it would require careful evaluation.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We're joined here by Alan Poupart, publisher of All Dolphins for Sports Illustrated, editor of Dolphins Digest, also the Florida Panthers NHL.com correspondent. He joins us here on Onside Radio. Alan, I think you've spoken on this station before on my show and on O's show about your outlook on Tua Tagovailoa. Do you feel how confident do you feel that with the weapons that they brought in and with the extra work he now gets to put in the offseason, because he didn't really have an offseason last year, not only because of COVID, but because of his hip rehab, what is your realistic expectation for how much of a leap Tua can take in his second year?
That's a very good question, and it's the $64,000 question surrounding this team, isn't it? I mean, what kind of a leap is he going to make? You expect a leap because he's going from year one to year two under better circumstances, and if there is no leap, we got a problem.
Yeah.
So let's assume there will be a leap. How big of a leap? That's a fabulous question. The Dolphins certainly have gone out of their way to help him out with the acquisition of Will Fuller V in free agency with the drafting of Jalen Waddle. So the thing is, I still need to be convinced that he's got the physical traits and tools to become an elite NFL quarterback. I know there are some of my colleagues think it's a done deal. It's a matter of time. I'm not in that camp yet. I still need to be convinced. There's nothing I saw last year that alleviated any of the concerns I had with him coming out of Alabama, which is to say that he was a guy who orchestrated what was an absolutely ridiculous offense. And look at all of the first-round picks he had around him. I mean, 4 first-round picks at wide receiver. 3 first-round picks on the offensive line. Najee Harris in the backfield. I mean, it was completely crazy, and he was the perfect guy for it. That doesn't mean he's going to be a star in the NFL. I still need to see it. Having said that, and to answer your question, I would expect a leap forward until proven otherwise. I'm going to say it's going to be a modest leap forward.
Okay, and so you touched on it a little bit there, because I can't recall if going back to before he was drafted, if I had a conversation with you about it, but you made it sound like you did have some reservations even when he was coming out of Bama, correct?
No question about it. And they were the same. There's nothing. You watch him operate that offense, and what you come away with is, man, was he efficient. Well, yeah, he was efficient throwing to guys who are open by 5 yards when they're going deep, or who take bubble screens and go 50 yards because nobody can tackle him, and operating behind an offensive line that more often than not gave him a lot of time to set up and get his feet set. And when his feet are set, his arm is fine. It's not. I don't think he has a great arm, but when he can set his feet, sure, his arm is fine. There were a few occasions last year we saw that. The one that comes to mind is that deep pass to Jakeem Grant against the Bengals that Jakeem unfortunately couldn't hang on to, even though it was right in his hands. But that's not a great NFL arm. A great NFL arm is if you're off rhythm, off schedule, you're scrambling, you have to make a throw without planting your feet, and you still have zip on the ball. And you see that from guys like Josh Allen, for example, Patrick Mahomes. You see a lot of those throws, and there are other quarterbacks who can make those kinds of throws, and that's not what Tua is.
Joined here by Alan Poupart. He's with us on Onside Radio. What did you make of what Tua said last week? When because obviously he was very candid and honest, and maybe honest to a point where like he was really trying to emphasize that he's only blaming himself. He didn't want to make it sound like he was putting any sort of blame on Chan Gailey or any of the coaches, but talking about like his lack of understanding of the playbook last year. And I think personally, obviously that can't continue. I think I can give him a bit of a pass for last year because not only was he a rookie, but he dealt with a tough situation getting into the NFL off the hip injury and with the pandemic and all that. But what did you make of what he put out there last week?
Well, I can tell you my initial reaction was like, yeesh, that's not a good look. And I appreciate the kid's honesty. I absolutely will give him points for that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, isn't part of playing quarterback, a large part of playing quarterback is knowing the offense, knowing the playbook. And it's not like he was the only rookie in the NFL playing quarterback. And I talked to my SI colleagues in Cincinnati and with covering the Chargers, and guess what? There were no such issues with Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow. And the argument was made to me, well, yeah, but they were starters from the start. Well, there's such a thing as mental reps, and getting into your playbook should not depend on you taking the first team snaps of practice. So I did find it problematic. Is it the end of the world? No, but obviously it's something that needs to be corrected for season 2. And if you recall, he gave that answer in response to a question about his receiving core, where the question was almost begging for him to rip into the receiving core, which was kind of subpar at the end of the season with all the injuries. And kudos for him for sticking up for his guys. And I think he used the word phenomenal describing the group, and it certainly was not phenomenal. But props for him for that. But I did find it problematic that your quarterback is telling you that he didn't know the playbook very well.
What do you think about the offensive coordinator situation heading into next year? I mean, obviously the Dolphins are doing something that looks unique, having co-offensive coordinators. Obviously just the naming of two, I think really throws people off a little bit, because I'm sure they're gonna delegate responsibilities to one another. But what do you think about Godsey and Studesville? Your outlook for them next year?
Well, it's certainly unusual, that's for sure. You just don't see that very often. Also, if you're of the school of thought that it's preferable to have somebody who's done it before, well, you have George Godsey was an offensive coordinator for 2 years with the Texans in 15 and 16, and in his defense, his roster of quarterbacks in those 2 years is not exactly a who's who of Pro Bowl quarterbacks. And as far as Eric Studesville is concerned, he's never been an offensive coordinator. He was an assistant head coach and even interim head coach for one point with the Broncos. So you're not dealing with guys who are necessarily proven commodities as OCs, and then you have them combine forces, which is not something that's done very often. Questions been asked of both of them. Who's going to be the one calling plays on Sundays? We never got a direct answer. My guess would be Godsey, because he's done it before during his time with Houston. But it's another one of those where, yeah, it's kind of on the surface and at first glance, like maybe not the ideal solution. Maybe I think fans might have felt better if the Dolphins had gone out and gotten somebody with experience in that role from somewhere else outside of the organization. So until we see the offense producing, there's going to be that shadow of doubt over those two guys.
Want to get into some Panthers with you. Obviously, it's always disappointing to lose in the first round. I mean, they lost to the defending Stanley Cup champs. I knew it wasn't going to be an easy series to begin with. I was reading some of the quotes from Bill Zito today, who was talking about the exit interviews he had with players, and he sounded pretty pumped up about the attitude of the players and how fired up they are for next year. I mean, I personally, Alan, I'm not discouraged as a Florida Panthers supporter. I feel really good about the future, even if I'm disappointed to get eliminated in the playoffs. Do you think that what we saw this season is only the beginning of what could end up being a really good run?
Well, they have to win a first-round playoff series. That would be the first step before I get overly excited. I'm going to be honest with you.
Hasn't happened since '96, as we know all too well.
No, correct. And the problem again is, and we talked about this before, the difference between the regular season and playoff hockey is gigantic. And the Panthers, while they brought in some players to improve their grits, Patrick Hornquist, Radko Gudas really stand out in that department. We're still a team, you look at their roster, that looks more like a regular season team than a playoff team. I just look at their defensive core. With Ekblad out with the injury, of the 7 players who played on defense for the Panthers in that series against Tampa Bay, they had 2 guys out of the 7 who weighed at least 200 pounds, and one of them was Mackenzie Weegar at 200 even.
Wow.
Tampa Bay also used 7 defensemen in that series. Now one of them was under 200 pounds. And if you notice in that series, the front of the net in front of Andrei Vasilevsky was a lot clearer than the front of the net in front of either Bob, Chris Drieger, or Spencer Knight.
How do you feel about Knight? Do you think he's going to be the real deal?
Oh, love him. Yeah, big time. Of course, that brings up the great dilemma the Panthers are facing when they have a $10 million a year goalie.
And I want to ask you about that. I want to ask you about that as well. Like, how do you think, assuming Knight keeps, on his trajectory of getting even better, and he's already so good at so young, how do you think the goalie dynamic is going to work out next year?
Boy, that's a great question. That was one of the questions that Bill Zito was asked today, and I don't know that there's an easy answer beyond those 2 guys will split the duties, and they'll go with the hot goalie once you get to the playoffs. Because Spencer Knight, and the book on him, and you tell me if this is what we saw, incredible poise, incredibly technically sound, so sound that you don't see him make a ton of acrobatic saves because he's always in the right position.
Right, he corrals the rebounds really well too.
Corrals the rebounds, and he's mature like a 30-year-old. So we saw all of that. It'd be almost a crime for him to have to go down to the AHL because of the surplus of goalie. Having said that, Bob's making $10 million a year. His last 2 years, his save percentage and his goals against average were his 2 lowest since his second year in the NHL in 2012. So this is not the same guy the Dolphins. I'm sorry. The Panthers got from his glory days in Columbus, and he's making $10 million a year with 5 years remaining on his contract. Good luck trading that.
I obviously I wasn't a huge fan of the job that Dale Talon was doing towards the end, and I think the Panthers are in a better place. But do you blame anybody for giving Bob that deal? Because I kind of feel like if the Panthers didn't do that, somebody else would have. Can you look at that and blame the Panthers for that, or are you like me? I just blame Bobrovsky for not living up to it.
No, I blame the Panthers. To
really?
me, yeah, giving a 30-year-old goalie a 7-year, $70 million deal is bad business.
Okay.
Because chances are the goalies who are exceptional year in and year out over a long period of time is extraordinarily rare. And to make that kind of commitment to a goalie like that, I didn't like that move from the start, and it's got nothing to do with Bobrovsky, nothing against him. To me, it's just bad business.
Well said. Last thing I got to ask you before we let you run. If you could only have one of these tonight, stone crab claws or lobster tail, what do you go with?
Not even close. and this may be an unpopular opinion, not even close. Give me the lobster tails.
Really? I go stone crab.
Again, this is going to get me hated, but stone crabs to me are extraordinarily overrated.
Whoa! Oh my God, that's great. You know, it's funny because I had I talked to our buddy Antoine Staley the other day, and because he had tweeted over the weekend that crab is overrated, but I when I brought him on the show yesterday, he actually walked it back in terms of stone crab, because he wasn't, like, he claims that when he said crab is overrated, like, he wasn't talking about stone crab, he was talking about like the Jameis Winston style crab legs. So I actually got Antoine to walk it back, but now Alan Poupar is doubling down. Do you think stone crab is overrated? Is it because you don't like having to dig for the meat? I know it is a labor to eat them.
No, because I like crawfish, and crawfish is a little bit of a job too. And I mean, they're okay. I just don't think there's anything extraordinary about them. And I love the texture of lobster tails. To me, it's like, and unlike Antoine, who I respect, I'm not going to walk it back. You can ask me the same question next week, and it's going to be lobster tails again.
Wow, you know what? If anyone thought your take on Tua was controversial, I didn't bat an eye at that. But this stone crab thing, Alan, listen, man, I like it. You brought the heat today, sir. I really enjoyed this conversation. Everyone, you want to make sure you follow Alan on Twitter. You recently changed the handle, right? It's now Poupart NFL. Is that right?
You are correct, sir.
Awesome. Yeah, because I remembered you changed it recently, so I didn't want to give out the old one. And check out his work in Sports Illustrated and NHL.com. Excellent job, sir. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You do right back, and maybe I'll have some lobster tails at some point.
Maybe I'll have some stone crab tonight. Thank you. He was throwing heaters. I love that. He had a take, and he stood by it. He dug in. I like it. Hey, Florida Panthers. I already read that one. Hey, over the last 30 years, South Florida fans have always been able to count on one radio show that gives you the brutal honesty you need. Orlando Alzigari in the Onside Zone, daily from noon to 3 p.m., exclusively at OnsideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can now watch Onside Radio daily by subscribing to our YouTube and Twitch channels. Search Onside Radio. Log on, subscribe, rate, and review Onside Radio on YouTube and Twitch. Find out why Big O has a face for radio. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's home for real sports talk.
If you're looking for a change from the everyday restaurant, then you need to get to Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, homemade potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. Take their famous Boot Tour Challenge, and there's now outdoor seating available in their new beer garden with live music. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant, or call them for reservations or pickup at 954-785-7565. So get over to 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach to Zagat-rated Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant.
Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Miami Lakes location at 15462 Northwest 77th Court, located in the Ryan Oaks Plaza. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available, from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandolux. Bandolux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandolux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandolux Beauty. Go to Bandolux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandolux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandolux partner.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, I fully admit, when it comes to being a sports fan, I get sucked into a lot of the drama. I don't know if that happens to me because part of my job is to talk about everything that comes with sports. So, like, I look to more of the drama because it gives me more flavor. It gives me more content. It gives me more things to engage my audience with. But I don't know. That might be the gateway, but I genuinely get into it. Like, I genuinely do, right? If anytime new information drops about, another lawsuit against Deshaun Watson, I don't think there's been a new one for a while, but anytime something new drops there, like a new nugget, I kind of get into it. I get fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by this Aaron Rodgers saga. I mean, to see him turn the entire NFL on its axis, right? Because everyone's wondering, what does Rodgers do next? How can a guy that's won a Super Bowl and had an amazing career with Green Bay, how can he want to leave? Or why are they betraying Rodgers? Why haven't they done a better job keeping him happy? And then when all this chaos is going on, the dude is in Hawaii with Hollywood celebrities, singing karaoke and jumping off of waterfalls, just having the time of his life when he's got the entire NFL world on strings. I get fascinated by it. I do. He's made no secret. He's unhappy with the Packers. He's not feeling the respect from the front office. Sounds to me like he's singling out that GM. And I was reading something last week that, and this all comes from the insiders, right? People like the Schefters and the Ian Rappaports who, they talk to the agents, they talk to team sources within the Packers. They try to piece together to figure out what's true, what's not. But, one of the topics that came up is Aaron Rodgers despises Gutekunst, the GM in Green Bay, and he doesn't want to work with that guy. And I don't know if this narrative is true or not. I don't. But one of the narratives around Rodgers is that if Green Bay is going to be able to patch things up with him, they can start that process by firing their GM. That firing their GM might be enough to patch things up with Rodgers. From my perspective, okay, if you have to choose between the MVP of the league and one of the best quarterbacks I've ever watched or a GM who's not particularly good at his job anyway, you get rid of the GM. You don't get rid of Rodgers. So from my perspective, it's very easy. And guess what? Gutekunst is going to land on his feet, right? I mean, don't worry about him. He's making a lot more money than all of us already, and he'll find another job somewhere if the Packers were to get rid of him. So from where I sit, and I love, by the way, how our guy Toast refers to him as GM dumbass. I mean, he's right. GM dumbass. If firing GM dumbass is all that it takes to patch things up with Aaron Rodgers, I believe you do it, okay? But all the reports coming out say, hey, the Packers, no, they're not willing to cross that line. They're not going to allow, Aaron to dictate terms and take a man's job away, so they're not going to get rid of him. So, things have looked kind of ugly. But, one of these insiders who's following this story and giving us some nuggets on the developments of what's happening between Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers is Ian Rappaport from NFL Network, one of the best reporters out there. Ian Rappaport was on the Pat McAfee show. Here's a little bit of their conversation, and according to Rapp, I'll let you hear it in his words, the Packers are trying to patch things up. So they don't want to trade Rodgers. They want to patch things up. Listen to this.
Articles now that have come out, I think Matt Schneidman of The Athletic was the first one. He came out and said that the Packers are okay with calling Aaron's bluff. And then they've even dove into how much money it'll cost Aaron. And I think it's only like $6.8 million out of his pocket back to the Packers that he would have to pay for them to get a part of his signing bonus that he allegedly didn't earn, maybe much like a Calvin Johnson situation. But he could lose out on like $23 million or something like that. Is that an overwhelming feel around the league that they're going to do that? Is there, because this June 1 designation with the money potentially being saved for the Packers if they were to trade him, do you feel like there's no chance Aaron Rodgers gets traded at this exact moment, or what are your thoughts on that situation?
I don't feel like it's a very good chance he gets traded at all. I mean, if you're going to do it, which, again, I don't think they will, you would have done it before the draft just to make sure you're set. And you know, the best value for draft picks is when you're about to use them. Like if someone trades for a 1 next year's draft, like that's great, but you're not going to see it for a full year. So like congratulations, but you know there's not the instant gratification you get from doing a deal right before this draft. So, but I don't think the Packers are doing it anyway. And yeah, I mean Aaron Rodgers, if he retired, would have to pay back $23 million in a signing bonus, which. You know, I think it's 11.5 a year. If he becomes a host of Jeopardy, I would imagine the salary would basically take care of that. And that would be it. I don't see it more as calling his bluff. I see it more as they are trying to work something out and nothing matters until they do. So, like, they know he's not going to show up. Will they fine him for missing minicamp? Like, maybe. But then if he signs a new deal and this thing gets handled, they'll probably end up giving that money back and baking it into a contract anyway. So I think it's more they're trying to make this right rather than calling his bluff.
So there you go. That's Ian Rappaport on the Pat McAfee show. The Packers are trying to make this right. They're not trying to trade Aaron Rodgers, and they're not refusing to trade him because they want to stick it to him. They're refusing to trade him because they want him to be their quarterback. We'll see if they work it out. Firing GM dumbass is the way to do it. You do it. You do what you got to do. I like this. NFL.com, a new piece. They ranked Jalen Waddle as the guy that they predict will be the most impactful non-quarterback rookie. So there you go. Outside of, the Trevor Lawrences and the Zach Wilsons and the Justin Fieldses and the Trey Lances of the world, they believe that Jalen Waddle will be the most impactful non-quarterback rookie. Impactful rookies, let me find the exact quote here. David Carr. Oh, David Carr, my guy. Former failed NFL quarterback, although I really blame the situation. He was drafted by the expansion Houston Texans, and his offensive line were traffic cones. Like, he had traffic cones blocking for him. And poor guy, he didn't have a chance to have a career. David Carr, who actually, he does good football analysis. He says, I'll keep this short and sweet. Jalen Waddle is going to be the reason Tua Tagovailoa is considered Miami's franchise quarterback after this season. Wow. There's a lot in there, a lot to unpack in 2 sentences. Jalen Waddle is going to be the reason Tua Tagovailoa is considered Miami's franchise quarterback after this season. Eat it, Tua haters. Outside of what Alan Poupar said about lobster and crab legs, he did also, talk about Tua, and he's critical. Like, Alan is not sold on the idea that Tua is going to be a franchise quarterback. He sees some limitations there. I respectfully disagree. I disrespectfully disagree with him about stone crabs, but I respectfully disagree with him about Tua. Ray Grullon writes in, Tua did a whole lot with 3rd and 4th string players. And come on, did Allen see Josh Allen in his first year? Another Tua hater, good Lord. Yeah, dude, Josh Allen, you're right. He was not only bad his first year, he was not good his second year either. Josh Allen became a stud in his 3rd year. Really bad rookie season. We saw him up close. I remember going to that game, Dolphins-Bills. Josh Allen's rookie year at Hard Rock Stadium missed a wide-open Charles Clay. Just no accuracy whatsoever. I can't believe that that's the same quarterback who I was watching this past year carrying the Bills to the best season that they've had in forever. Like, it's crazy. Well, not forever. I mean, since the 90s, basically. But, yeah, Josh Allen is really good, and he was not very good as a rookie. So that is quite valid. All right, my friends, when we come back, we're going to do a little crossover with our guy Stephen D. from Miami Sports Music for the Fans. Get you ready to his show coming up. It is the newest show on the station. The fans support the teams. They buy the jerseys and the tickets, but, guys, they never get the love that they deserve on sports radio. OnSideRadio.com changes that with Miami Sports Music for the Fans. It's the show driven by Stephen D., representing Miami sports fans around the world. Tune in every night from 6 to 7 p.m. as Stephen D. and fans around the world drive the talk about your favorite South Florida sports team. OnSideRadio.com is dedicated to the Miami sports fan.
The man of the match with South Florida's own Alex Donno. Weekdays 1 to 5 p.m. on the home for Inter Miami football. OnSideRadio.com.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now, it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common, preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com, broadcasting from South Florida to the world. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
I always love doing a little crossover with my really good pal, Stephen D. He hosts Miami Sports Music for the Fans every night from 6 until 7 p.m. Steve, how you doing, sir? How's everything in your neck of the woods?
I love the love jam you're making over there, that music.
I know.
To bring that music back in. Tell them to bring that music back in. Because
Bring the music back in, Alex.
Music. Oh, I was feeling it, man. There we go. Right there. See, that's that crossover love talk. You're listening to Onside Radio with Alex Donno. See, I got it, man.
I love it, man. This is like the elevator music version of like something Barry White would be singing over. That is fantastic. Oh man, you know I don't want to steal your thunder with getting into the roundtable topic for today, because I know you're going to get into that during your show. But I mean, how are you feeling now at this point of the offseason, Steve? Do you think the Dolphins might like end up bringing in a player or two, or do you think that they should just sit tight because they're in a good place right now?
I mean, look, let's be perfectly honest. I think this is the best Miami Dolphins team that we have seen in the last easily 15 to 20 years.
You might be right. Yeah.
I'm that excited for this team. Do I think we need some more pieces? Of course we do. I don't want to be – I'm not satisfied with, the running back situation. I'd love to see, Melvin Ingram come on in. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but – I want to see, what the center. I'd like to see more depth at center. I want to see if a few guys get cut at training camp or preseason. I want to see the Dolphins go after some guys. And here's a reality. For the first time in a long time, we have depth at certain positions that we have not had depth at in years. Wide receiver, offensive line, secondary.
Yeah, no. And sorry to cut you off. I lost you there for a second, so I wasn't sure if you were done talking. And you know what? I was thinking about, Steve, what you said there. Best Dolphin team in the last 15, 20 years. I mean, outside of like the 2008 team was like a little blip on the radar, and it was so much dependent on Chad Pennington, like how good he was that year. You're probably right, man. Like from top to bottom on paper, this is the best team we've had since like the earlier Wanstead days.
100%. And the hate that the national media is giving us, is undeserved. But B, it also lets me know when you have haters, that means you're doing something right. And right now the Dolphins are doing a lot right. And I think that that's the reality of it.
So you got a big hour coming up. What do you plan tonight on Miami Sports Music for the fans?
Bro, our biggest show ever, with the exception of when I have Alex on, because that's always a big show. But I got Richmond Webb coming on.
Dude, I love. I don't think I've ever had the pleasure of interviewing him, but I've spoken to him on Twitter before, and he's so good, man. What a nice guy.
Richmond Webb is absolutely an amazing guy, amazing human being, and the football player is not even. He's a nicer human being, and he was a great football player. You know what I'm saying? So I'm super excited to have him on.
Dude, that is really awesome. We'll have a great show tonight. Everyone, you want to make sure to tune in. A Dolphins staple, Richmond Webb, is going to be joining Steve D here tonight on Miami Sports Music for the fans, 6 to 7 o'clock. Have a great show, Steve.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Good stuff there. Well, that'll do it for us. Want to send a huge thanks, of course, to Steven right there. Want to send a thanks to Clay Ferrero for joining us live, for Alan Poupar for joining us live. We'll be back for a big fun show tomorrow. Expecting Kyle Krabs on tomorrow to talk some Dolphins with us. And I've got the 2-for-1 tomorrow. I'm going to be doing Fight Night as well. And I know one of our guests tonight is going to be joining James Walker. And actually, I know two of them because Stephen D is going to hang around for a segment and talk some UFC with us. And Jim Rodriguez is going to join the show as well. Our pal J-Rod is going to help us preview Mayweather versus Logan Paul this weekend. I had a story to get to about that. We'll get to it tomorrow because I have something kind of interesting to bring up about that fight. We have plenty of time to talk about it tomorrow. Huge thanks to Alex Aguirre for doing great work. Hey, Onside Radio enters Kai's Corner with Kai Chen Chisholm every day from 10 a.m. to noon. Join Kai as he discusses the biggest stories in South Florida sports. Tune in every day from 10 a.m. to noon for Kai's Corner on the home for South Florida Sports Talk, OnsideRadio.com.
The viewpoints, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inner Miami Marketing, LLC.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station.
Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Bird Road location at 11481 Southwest 40th Street in the back corner of the West Bird Shopping Center. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends.